He had the pitches to do it. It's one of those situations where the scorer is allowing you to continue to let him go out there and experience it. You can see he's running into a little bit of a wall, but he did a really nice job with that lineup. Mixed well, was landing all his pitches. The lefties gave him trouble there third time through, but it was good for him to feel that.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. That audio courtesy of Cardinals TV. It was Ollie Marmol last night after the game. Kyle Leahy, really good through 5 innings and then hits a wall. Alex, it reminded me of what happened for me this morning. So we were having a good morning. I haven't told you guys this story yet.
2 home runs today?
I haven't told you guys the story yet.
This is a T-Bone thing.
So we were having a good morning.
Could
Wake
muster up more
get
pitches?
Luca ready to go. We're taking my dog Belle this morning for a groomer's appointment right down the street from here. And so Luca and I get in the car. We're ready. We're taking Luca over to daycare. Leave Belle in the car while we go inside. And I get back into the car, and I sit down. We're on our way over here to Olive Boulevard. Alex, we're ready to go. Everything's going great all morning long.
You realize that the dog was in the back seat still.
Nope.
Like,
realized as I get out
Forgot the dog.
of... I go to get some gas, get up, look down. I sat in dog poop. My dog, while I was inside with Luca, had pooped in my seat.
And you didn't feel it?
Nope, didn't feel it at all.
You didn't smell it?
Nope, didn't know. You know, I barely have a sense of smell.
It amazes me every time you tell me that, man.
Sat in dog poop, so I had to go back home to change my pants.
You had to go
this
get new
morning.
pants from the pants store because
This
you ruined your
explains why
pants.
you were late today. A little run behind.
Correct.
Because he much
Reason
like
I
Kyle
bring this
Leahy,
up-
he sat in dog poop.
Exactly. It was a great morning until it wasn't. And T-Bone's here today to tell you why that doesn't matter.
Hey, you know what? That was outstanding,
Thank
buddy.
you.
He just got dog poop into a Cardinals game.
It doesn't matter that Kyle Leahy, the third time through the order, becomes one of the worst pitchers in all of Major League Baseball because he's just out here trying to do his best.
The sentence that you just said, and now that the fact Tanner is going to try and defend this, is wild to me. You hate guys that can't do this.
We talked about it before the show today in the office, and T-Bone said, hey, I think the open last night was Kyle Leahy. He was awesome. And me and Alex kind of looked at each other, and we were like, interesting. We had a different perspective on his start last night. So, T-Bone, I cede the floor to you. What did you make of Kyle Leahy's start last night?
Oh, it's hard to build off of someone sitting in dog crap. But I thought Leahy was good in that performance last night. And I get it. He hit a wall. I think he's kind of like Matthew Liberatore, trying to learn how to build up and sustain his velocity as he gets deeper into games. But through the first 5 innings, he allowed 5 hits and didn't allow a run. And he was striking guys out, had some decent swing and miss, felt like he was mixing the pitches a little bit better in that contest, felt like he had a good feel for all the breaking stuff. And then he ended up getting hit a little bit there in that 5th inning, but they had a big enough lead to where they were able to kind of pull him at the right time. I thought it was a good building block start for him because I don't think there's been a lot of like early success for him so far this year, you know? So that's why I found it encouraging, because this was the first time where I saw him get through the first 5 innings and go, okay, that feels like the Kyle Leahy that the Cardinals are telling us about why they have to keep him in the rotation and why they want to continue to build off of what try to build him into a starter. And that's why I found it encouraging, because recently I feel like after 2-3 innings, I'm going, oh my God, this already feels like it's a tough test for him. Runners are on, there's traffic on base. And I didn't feel that as much last night. I felt like he was able to kind of get into a little bit of a rhythm, did end up hitting that wall, which is something he has to work on. But last night to me was the reason that you keep throwing him out there as a starter to see if he can continue to grow and not go out and sign someone like a Taijuan Walker that the Philadelphia Phillies released, or potentially replace him with Dobbins when he gets up here to make his start in the 6-man rotation tomorrow. So I was impressed with Kyle Leahy's performance. I know he ran into the wall. I think that's going to happen for a guy that's a reliever turned into a starter, as we saw last year with Matthew Liberatore.
I thought he was fine. I thought he was pretty good, really good the first time through. Decent the second time through. And then the third time through, he was awful. And I don't really know what to do with that. That sounds like a reliever to me. And I know you've got to work your way into this. And yes, it's going to take some time. But, okay, so it's going to take some time for him to develop into a starter. And by the time that he has developed into a starter, you've got other starters that are coming through your minor league system that have a higher pedigree than he does as a starter. So what was all of the work for? You just get to a place where now that he is stretched out, he has developed, he's got everything in place to become a starter, including his routine to become a starter. Now you're going to kick him back to the bullpen again? I just don't really get it. It doesn't land for me. This season, first time through the order as a starting pitcher, 225 opposing batting average, 345 opposing slugging percentage. Great numbers, man. Genuinely great numbers. And you saw that play out last night where the strikeouts really racked up. In 49 at-bats against him this year, he has 14 strikeouts the first time through. That's outstanding. That's really good stuff, man. Then you go the second time through as a starter. In 46 at-bats, he has 7 strikeouts. Opposing hitters are batting .326 against him, getting on base more than 40% of the time, and have an OPS over 900. And then, third time through happens, boys. 25 at-bats, he has 1 strikeout. Opposing hitters are batting just .480 against him with an OPS of 1,400. So, yeah, there's some signs here that he's been pretty good at times. And then he sees somebody again, and they're like, oh, yeah, I know this stuff. Well, bam! Just smacking it to the outfields. So, I don't know, man. I don't really know what to do with that. Is there upside? I suppose, but I think the upside is a hell of a lot greater coming out of the bullpen than it is as a starter. So, I left that game last night thinking to myself, yeah, this is why I like Kyle Leahy and why I prefer him coming out of the bullpen.
It's why I don't buy into what Derek told us yesterday. And I know he's reporting what the Cardinals believe, and I think the Cardinals believe that now because it's what's in front of them. Kyle Leahy is a placeholder. Kyle Leahy is a guy that gets you to the end of this season to where you're not overusing guys that aren't ready for major league experience. And then once you get into the offseason and going into next year, you look at it and you say that was a great performance by Leahy. But now we have guys who, as you put it, BK, has higher ceiling in terms of their stuff that fits more in line with the rotation. I thought the same thing as I was watching that game. Like, Leahy had the strikeout stuff. Leahy looked like, it's like, oh, damn, he's not missing the strike zone. Like, he's doing what he hadn't been able to do early on. But then it's the second time through, you start to see a little bit of a different approach. And then the moment that third time comes, it's like, get him out of there. I don't believe that's what you can do with starters. Now, I know baseball's different now. I'm starting to sound like T-Bone in this front, where it's like, no, guys need to go 100 pitches. But
didn't do that
the
last time,
moment you get to the top of the line at the third time through, if the manager's saying, we got to get him out of here because this game's going to get out of hand. By the way, it started to get out of hand last night. To me, that's a snowball that the starter should be able to keep calm for you. So I thought the same thing. I thought Leahy looked awesome in the first time through the order. You know what I'm thinking? Man, would he be an elite piece to have out of your bullpen right now to get you to the 7th, 8th, and 9th for your guys to hopefully close things down. But you don't have him. And I think by next season, he'll be back in that spot. And that gets me to the point that you have too. I just don't, I know why they're doing it, but don't try and lead me down the path of he's going to be a long-term starter for us. Let's call it what it is. He's a placeholder.
Also, T-Bone, you've talked a lot about Swanson, how you didn't trust, hey, he gets strikeouts with no whiff. And guys, it's strikeouts looking more than it is swing and miss strikeout. That's what Kyle Leahy was last night. He wasn't getting a whole lot of whiff. It was at 23%. His swing and miss rate on the season is 20%, which is 20th percentile. He hasn't missed bats. So I'm very surprised by you looking at that and saying, of all people, hey, that was impressive last night, when at the same time you looked at Matt Swanson and said, yeah, but it won't be sustainable. You can't do that in the future. So it is to me one of those things where it's like all right, what did you see? That was good last night. What we saw from Kyle Leahy, that was an improvement. And I'm not trying to take away from that. I just think it's a bigger picture conversation with everything this season. So I'm less interested in having the was Leahy good last night or not conversation, and more interested in having the what does it mean for Kyle Leahy conversation. And I don't know how sustainable any of that was or how translatable it is to his next start or the start after that.
And I care more about his short-term answer last night in that start because he needed a short-term response, right? He needed to be good for a start.
Because apparently, according to the Cardinals,
they're going to keep throwing him out there.
Change anything.
Yeah, but
so what's the pressure?
They can keep saying that, but if he kept performing like he had been, then pressure was going to mount. And I think he needed a start to where you could get through 5 innings and not allow a run. And if he were a 5 and dive yesterday, we're not even having this conversation.
He did give up 9 base runners over the course of 5 innings, man.
I still think for him to get through 5 unearned, I think it was fine for him last night. I think he was good last night, and I think he needed a small victory, right? I think he needed to have something where he could leave that game feeling confident. They sent him out for the 6th, and he gave up 3 runs. if he would have gone 5 innings, I think we wouldn't have had that conversation. We probably would have said, yeah, he was fine, but thank goodness Kyle Leahy didn't give up a run in last night's outing. Now, granted, the bullpen would have made things interesting like they tried to, but I think that should have been an outing that had to be celebrated for Kyle Leahy.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Thought he was fine last night. He gave you a chance to win. You did win the game. It was an awesome win for the Cardinals, by the way. We'll get to the offense, which I'm really excited about. I thought that was the biggest storyline from last night's game. We'll get into that coming up.
We'll talk about the offense after the
12 o'clock. We will talk to Steve Ott coming up at 11:30 as well. We will have Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues, coming up in the 12 o'clock hour. Real quick on the Cardinals pitching staff, T-Bone mentioned Hunter Dobbins is going to be joining the staff tomorrow. So this time tomorrow, we will have an answer on the question that I'm about to ask you, but they've got to send somebody down or out in order to make room for Hunter Dobbins on the roster to make that start tomorrow against the Pirates. Who do you guys think should be that player, and who do you think will be that player? Could be two different answers to that question.
Well, I didn't really have a should be because I think you can kind of pick your poison right now with this bullpen in terms of who should go down, and you'd probably lean towards guys that don't have to go through waivers. But as we were talking in the sports office before the show, they just claimed Freddie Peralta's brother off the waivers from the Rockies, who's a lefty, and you brought up Justin Brule's the one. And I think if I've got a lefty in the minors that I just claimed off of a major league team, I'll take my chance on Justin Brule being claimed. I don't think he gets claimed, but if he does, well, I've got another lefty in my minor leagues. Right now, those lefties just have not been great for you, so that's probably the route that I would go.
I would preferably send down either Swanson or DFA Brule. I know that leaves you one lefty in your bullpen, but I mean, Brule's not getting anybody out, so you're basically with one lefty now. That would be the two routes that I go. I think they're going to go Fernandez. I think they are too afraid to operate with only one lefty in the pen for an extended stretch, and I think they still seem to believe they can fix Swanson. I don't understand that, but they seem to think that they can, so I think they will send down Fernandez.
I think they will send down Fernandez as well. I would go Brule. He hasn't been very good against lefties, and that's the job. If you're going to be a left-handed reliever that comes out in those lefty lanes, as they've talked about, and the reason you're doing it is because they don't want to send out a right-handed pitcher against those left-handed hitters, then you better be good when you do it. And opposing left-handed batters this year are batting 300 and getting on base 40% of the time against Justin Brule. You look under the hood, it ain't good. He's not getting any chase. He's not getting any swing and miss. Now, opposing hitters do not hit it hard against him, but they make contact a ton. And as we've seen with a lot of Cardinals starters and relievers over the years, that is just a risky way to live. So is somebody else going to pick him up? Probably, because, man, Major League Baseball is just desperate to get relievers and just pitching in general. So you probably end up losing him on waivers. So that would be my guess as to why they don't make this move. And they just send Fernandez down. It's the easy move. It's the easy way to operate. And they keep all of their guys, just as they did at the beginning of the season when they decided to make a decision that was not particularly highly regarded among Cardinals fans when they came to the regular season with Nathan Church in the outfield and Thomas JC and Jose Fermin. And it was because they wanted to keep everybody. And I think they'll probably do something similar tomorrow when it comes to the pitching side of things. It is 11:14. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Coming up in 15 minutes, we're going to talk to Steve Ott, the head coach of the Springfield Thunderbirds, as they have advanced to the second round of the playoffs. We'll talk to Steve Ott about that coming up here in about 15 minutes. But coming up next, the NCAA has made what I believe is a highly unpopular decision to expand the NCAA tournament. Was it the right decision, though? We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN. It's official. The NCAA tournament is expanding to 76 teams, Alex.
Oh, I need to sit. T-Bone's about to get cooked right now.
The NCAA tournament is expanding to 76 teams beginning next year. Thank God for that. We all needed 8 more teams to be a part of the NCAA tournament. For those curious, what would the play-in games have looked like this past year? Well, of course, you would have had Arizona State versus Cal, Oklahoma State versus Vatech, Indiana versus Oklahoma, and Auburn versus San Diego State, which I know is something all of us would have been looking forward to. But then, if that's not enough for you, you also would have had automatic qualifiers that had play-in games as well, including the great Leahy going up against Prairie View A&M, which was already played, along with Howard versus UMBC. Those were the 2 games that we saw. And beyond that, you would have had Queens versus LIU, Furman versus Siena, Kennesaw State versus Wright State, and Idaho versus Tennessee State. Who was asking for this? Truly, who was asking for us to expand the NCAA tournament?
I have an answer.
Beyond where it was already
People
at.
in the NCAA that wanted more money.
Okay.
Sponsors that wanted to be attached to more. That's really what this came down to. Like, I saw this, and I'm just, I don't even know if frustrated is the right word, annoyed, that it's just like, why? Why do we have to keep doing this? But at the end of the day, it's more basketball games that we get to watch that I don't think we're going to care. And 2, it's more money for the NCAA. And
that's what it is.
This is why it's going to keep going this route. You expand because there's more people that want to throw more money at this, and you say, well, we don't have enough space for you. Let's find more games.
Can I ask a quick question regarding that? Because I don't know what the answer to this is.
Why do we need more money? It's a fair question.
No. I know the answer to that, because why have less when you could have more?
Amen.
Do you think that it will impact NCAA tournament brackets at all? That you won't actually know what the bracket looks like until like Wednesday now? Where previously you would have basically the full bracket set up, because, I mean, half of the play-in games, there were basically 2 situations that you would have, like an 11 seed that could potentially advance. But the other 2, you're not going to pick the 16 over the 1. Most people just advance the 1s in the first round. Now you're going to have the entire bracket of 11 seeds or 12 seeds that are potentially going to be playing in these play-in games. You think that has an impact at all, or is that overstating things?
I don't think it has an impact. I think no matter the amount of time, people are going to invest and find time to put into putting those brackets together and do research that's with it. And a lot of people that are heavy into those brackets are watching college basketball from start to finish. They have the research in front of them.
Hard disagree. I think the NCAA tournament brackets are a very casual thing to do.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm with you.
I think a lot of people that put together a bracket have not watched more than like 5 games of college basketball over the course of the season.
And those people that get the brackets wrong and get it busted in the first couple of weeks, crumble it up and throw it away and don't care about it.
Understood, but
I think people
part of the
But I think people that
success
care
of the tournament is the bracket.
And I think those people are going to keep, anybody hands you the bracket, you're going to put it together regardless.
I guess my question is how are they not going to put these in the conversation of you got to fill this out as part of the bracket now?
No.
Because when it was just 2 play-in games, I got it, right? But now you're talking about, what, 8 play-in games? And 4 of those will actually matter? Like, I don't know. I would say it could impact it because you have to wait longer.
I'll just tell you right now, those play-in ones, I'll probably be picking the team that's not doing the play-in. Isn't that how
Which could come back to haunt you, because previously we saw it this year. Was it Texas that made it to like the Sweet 16? It's typically one of those every year that advances to at least the Sweet 16. So I don't know. That's just one other like side tangent on all of this. Is it going to really affect my ability to enjoy the tournament? No. Because if you don't like those extra games, just don't watch them. Like, that's ultimately what this comes down to. And so for me, whatever. I'll continue to watch the tournament. I'll fill out the bracket. I just think it's stupid and unnecessary. I think the tournament as it was at 64 was great. If you want to expand it by a few teams, and that's primarily going to benefit the smaller conferences, all right, fine. I'm good with that as well. But now you've expanded it by 12 teams from where it was for like 25 years. And this is where we're getting to the place where it's like, all right, come on, man. We don't need 76 teams getting to the tournament. I saw the bubble this year. Even the teams that got in on the right side of the bubble, I'm not sure we really needed to see most of them.
Like Mizzou.
Correct. Honestly, yeah. You sure as hell. And Mizzou wasn't even close to the bubble, by the way.
By the end of it, yeah.
Yeah. Some of these teams, though, like Auburn, I don't want to live in a world where Auburn from last year makes the tournament.
saw Auburn in person this year. I'm
stunk.
with you. They were terrible.
So the bubble conversation's gone. The new thing is going to be, if you don't make the NCAA tournament as a power conference team within the first couple of years of being at a school, you're fired. You're done. Yeah. It used to be like this is some kind of an accomplishment. No, not anymore. If you don't make it, that's on you. And that means that your program is in a truly awful spot. Yeah. T-Bone?
Yeah, I'm with you. I hate the fact that we're expanding the NCAA tournament. Because now, like, the other thing that adds to this, and this is why I always hate expanding postseasons in professional sports as well, now the regular season really doesn't have much meaning to it either, right? And you could even
never did.
You could argue that, but I think like these bubble teams, like their regular season mattered, but now it's just a race to 500. Now it is okay. Can we go like 500 this season?
It already was, to be fair.
No, not really. I mean, like, you look at some of the teams that got in, they were a couple of games above 500, right? Like, Auburn was the first one that became a real conversation of, I can't believe this team's on the bubble, and they've been the first team in NCAA tournament history to make the NCAA tournament only a game above 500.
Do you know what Auburn's record was in conference play last year?
I know they were below 500 in conference. I think it was 7-11.
It was 7-11. That's what I was talking about. Like, the race now is in a power conference. Do you get to 500? Like Texas, they got in last year. They were 9-9. These teams that we're talking about potentially getting in from the SEC, they were 7-11 in conference play. We don't need them.
Yeah.
The regular season, though, to me, has always it's been meaningless for a really long time.
Yeah,
I don't think college basketball, the regular season, really has a whole lot of juice to it anymore, unless you're a fan of a team, in which case, like, you're playing for things, sure, but...
Or you have those massive games where it's just like two powerhouses that you're...
Sure.
Like the first Duke versus North Carolina game was fun to watch early in the season because how much hype was surrounding Duke.
But it's different than what college football used to be.
Yeah.
Like, college football, I could understand the argument that you used to make, T-Bone, where, like, you are devaluing the regular season by expanding the playoff. Because it used to be, hey, if you lose a game, you might be done. And now that's gone. Like, that is removed from the equation. You might be able to lose 2 games and still get into the college football playoff nowadays. And maybe in, like, the exact right scenario, you could potentially even lose a third and get in, or at least be in the conversation. College basketball hasn't ever been that. And even for the 1 seed, like, you can get the 1 seed by losing 3 or 4 games, 5 games, potentially, depending on your strength of schedule. So I don't think this really does anything to impact the pedigree of the regular season in college basketball, because I don't know that it really existed.
I think the regular season
previously.
mattered for the middle of the pack, and now you're looking at it, now it matters for, like you said, 7-11 teams.
Who are the teams that it used to matter for that it doesn't matter anymore?
Without looking at the bracket, trying to think of like an 8, like Missouri. The regular season mattered for Missouri this year.
Did it though? Like down the stretch, it didn't. They lost 3 of their last 4 games.
It mattered for them for a big chunk of the season until they finally kind of. And I don't know if it was they secured their spot or the rest of college basketball secured their spot for them. Like, I think it mattered for Missouri. Like, you couldn't just look at the early portion of or middle portion, I'd say, of the conference schedule and say, yeah, this game doesn't matter. They're already kind of a lock. Like, it mattered for Missouri.
It would have mattered under this scenario, too, though.
No, I think under this scenario, like, midway through conference, we would have already been saying, like, yeah, Missouri's already a tournament team because they're already going to win 7 games. We can guarantee it. Like, that's where I would say that it matters. Because you're right, the top half of college basketball, like Illinois, for example, how much did the regular season really matter for them? Not really. The hope was that you could end up with a favorable seeding in terms of who your 2, 3s, or your 3, 4, and 1 were in your bracket, on your side of the bracket. I do think it mattered, though, for a team like Missouri. I think it matters. It would have mattered for a team like, it did matter. Let me rephrase it. It did matter for a team like Auburn in the home stretch. And now it won't, right? Like, now we could already just write in pen, yeah, Auburn would have been a tournament team. And now we're even having to go further down on what the bubble would have been. And I don't even know who would have been further down in that bubble in the conversation. Those schools shouldn't even be in the conversation,
Correct.
Right? I thought it was a joke that we were even having a conversation about Auburn being a team that made the tournament this year.
Regardless of how we feel on, like, T-Bone, it doesn't matter. The regular season to me in college basketball, like, most people don't even check in until we get into the January portion of the schedule. I think the regular season has been devalued for a really long time in college basketball, personally. That's my view on it. If you disagree, that's totally cool. So, like, I don't know how much this really changes that. I just think the conversation for the bubble, which used to be a real thing, now it's gone. Like, there should be no conversation about the bubble because who cares about the teams that are now going to be on the bubble? I guess maybe that's what you're getting at, T-Bone, is like those become the conversations that are now irrelevant. And now it'll be more about seeding than it is about where are you on the right side or the wrong side of the bubble. The bubble stinks now, so who cares? I don't think this was necessary. I think it's silly. I understand that it's just a cash grab, as most of the things are in college athletics nowadays. But if there is a benefit to it, it's that if you don't care about it, just don't watch it. Yeah. That's ultimately what it's going to come down to. All right, coming up next, we're going to be joined by Steve Ott. His team has advanced to the second round of the playoffs. We'll talk to him about that coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here, the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals beat the Pirates last night 11-7 as they've taken the first two games of the four-game set in Pittsburgh. Game 3 will be tonight. 5:40 will be first pitch, and Andre Palante will be on the mound for St. Louis. And coming up next year on BK and Ferrario, Springfield Thunderbirds head coach Steve Ott joins the program. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside BK and Tanner Hendrickson, I'm Alex Ferrario. BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. And Friday night is game one of the second round in the American Hockey League postseason play. And Steve Ott and the Thunderbirds are taking on the Providence Bruins after picking up the victory in round one against the Charlotte Checkers. And Steve is now joining us on the Callier and Thompson hotline. You can head over to our YouTube channel as well at 101 ESPN STL as he's joining us on video. Steve, it is great to see you and talk with you, man. First off, congrats on that round one victory. How did it feel as a first-time head coach?
Well, it felt great. Really proud of the group. The way we responded in the series, having a tough game one and coming back in 2 and 3 really proud of the group and in the totality of it all.
So I had the chance to watch all three of these games, Steve, and after that first one, the result, I think people were like, oh, okay, well, they got to the playoffs, and then, that was a good step, and get it back at it next year. But, man, it was a complete shift in mindset and dynamic in that second and third game. What shifted for the Thunderbirds from the first one, which I believe was a 7-1 loss, to the victory, 8-1, yeah, and then the victory in game 2?
I was counting 8-1, huh?
Yeah, sorry, he had to make sure.
Just to make sure. No, you know what, to be honest with you, we were overwhelmed. We got a young team. Playing meaningful games means a lot to these guys. And, we laid an egg. We watching the film, we never really got to our structure at all. Our sticks weren't very good. Our, stalls coming into D-zone coverage, all those areas that we have been really good at since being here, we never really saw our structure. So honestly, it was a real easy fix. I had to look inside of all that, and mindset-wise, I mean, it doesn't matter if you lose 8-1 or you lose 3-2 in overtime. It sucks losing the playoffs, but that game's over, and it's a series for a reason. And we were able to kind of re-energize the group, had a nice little practice, and we got back to work. And the guys really bought in here, and in the sense of how we needed to win to beat a top-end team of Charlotte, and we got on the right side of it.
Steve, I know we've talked with whether it be Jim Montgomery or other guys in the past, Bannister, that have taken over midseason at the NHL level, and it takes some time to introduce themselves to the players, but then also, really incorporate what they want to do at that level. I'm curious for you, when you got down to the AHL level and got to be around the guys, how long did it take before you were able to really implement what you wanted to do as the head coach of the Thunderbirds?
Well, to be honest with you, it was immediate. Luckily down here, you have a lot of practice time during the week. So I was able to get in here fairly early on a Tuesday and get right to work. The buy-in was exceptional from the leadership all the way down to the young guys of what our team needs to look like. And, starting with the defensive side of things, that we really need to clean up, get on the same page of how it needs to look, how we're going to arrive properly, how we're going to defend. A lot of detail work, and then weeks later we started incorporating more of the North game and what our identity of our team is. And to be honest with you, the identity came awfully quick. How we're going to be a hard, skilled, relentless team, and I thought the buy-in was exceptional from all the guys right away, and we've kind of just continued to put points all the way into the playoffs.
What's that transition like for those guys, Steve, just as players? Because it really is different in terms of practice, to where, like you mentioned, you got the entire week to practice with 3 games typically on the weekend, versus when they get to the NHL level, it's immediate, where it's a practice and then a game, practice and then a game, and then maybe 2 days in a week where you don't get any practices in.
It is a lot different. I've been in the NHL a long time, so I know that type of schedule and how it works, and how you can maximize your practice time and whatnot. And here, there's a lot of development time that goes in. There's a lot of extra time for guys to continue to work on their own games as well, let alone the structure and preparation for the weekend games that you may have faced coming up. So, adjustment-wise, there's a lot of time to really dissect your film, and that extra time, you use wisely for the individuals as well. So it's great for young guys to kind of continue to learn quickly, and bringing back down my experience from the NHL. It's how are they going to get there one day, and be able to lean on past experience to help them.
Springfield Thunderbirds head coach Steve Ott joining us here on BK and Ferrario. Steve, I believe you were up here when Otto Stenberg was, if I'm remembering the timing with that. What has he been like for you since he's returned back down to the AHL level since the end of his NHL season?
Well, Otto, first of all, and Theo, you bring back 2 prospects to the AHL. I think their games been more well-rounded, obviously having the experience and the confidence of playing in the NHL. So bringing back 2 exceptional players that really bolster our lineup a little bit. And that's what's, really kind of propelled our team a little bit deeper, stronger puck play. Both guys is, starting with Otto, he's a 200-foot player, makes a lot of strong plays down here offensively as well. And, the way that Theo skates is naturally, he's a step ahead of the game, a lot of the young guys in this league. So those 2 guys, I would say mostly since coming back, they've had a great smile. They've been, injected into the team, and they're all in, which makes a coach real happy.
Steve, one of the players that has been with the Thunderbirds pretty much all season that I know a lot of Blues personnel have talked a lot about and Blues fans continue to bring up is Alex Santeri-Kaskamaki. And from the moment you stepped into the Thunderbirds head coaching role, I mean, this kid just went off in terms of goal scoring, offensive production, been playing a top-line role for you. What's the development look like for this young kid, and do you see that NHL potential in him?
Well, first of all, answer the last one first. I sure do see NHL potential. People should be very excited about his game. I actually was up when he came up for 6 games with the Blues. The team wasn't in a good situation where we weren't playing at our best, and it's really hard on a young guy to get injected to the lineup when the team's not playing well. So we never really got a true look at who Kasky is. Now, being down here, he's a 200-foot player with exceptional little small plays and very detailed in his game. He's got high hockey IQ as well. So, you add those things together. He plays the most out of all our forwards every single night. He's on both special teams. He's, on a top line with 2 veteran players that, quite honestly, have kind of carried our team in the last little while. So, his impact on the team is one of the highest.
So let me ask you about one of those veteran players, because I've seen a lot of people bring it up on our text line, Steve, is Dylan Dubé. He joined the team, signed as a free agent in the middle of this season, and immediately kind of stepped into a leadership role, has provided, I think he scored 20 goals this season. How has his game translated to the AHL? Obviously somebody who's very familiar with the NHL.
He's been outstanding for our team. His leadership on the ice, off the ice, his work ethic, his energy that he brings to the team. Guys gravitate to him, and his ability to play an NHL style of game. He's a relentless puck hounder, plays with that type of energy, and it just kind of contagious throughout our lineup. So adding him and having that extra depth, that a guy that can do both jobs out there, it makes our team a lot stronger.
Steve, I want to ask a little bit about this transition for you, because this is a heck of an opportunity. You get the chance to go out there, be a head coach of the Springfield Thunderbirds. Now you're coaching them into the postseason. What have you learned about yourself in this particular role compared to the job that you held as an assistant at the NHL level?
Well, what I learned is that I'm ready for this position. I felt like I was ready years ago when I was doing some interviews for NHL jobs. Never wanted to leave St. Louis. It was always just how do you become a head coach in the thought process of it all. And personally, to be given this opportunity by Army and Steiners meant a lot. I've never really done anything kind of selfishly to just leave and do something to look after myself in the sense of coaching or even playing for that matter. I just kind of put my head down and work, and to be given this opportunity has meant a lot. I'm very thankful for the past experience that I've gotten in the last 9 years of coaching with the Blues. To have that type of experience, and you learn so many things over the time through different mentors and coaches, and having it put it all together to make it your own. It's been real special.
How tough has it been to temper the chirping from the bench like you were able to do as the player and the assistant coach?
Well, now I'm just constantly in the game. So, when you're calling out the lines, I try to bring a lot of energy to the bench. I think some of the times maybe overboard, but to be honest with you, I'm pretty stable on the bench.
I've heard Joey talk about it from the bench perspective, Steve. It's never overboard. It's never overboard. Hey, one more that I wanted to ask you, Steve, and we really appreciate the time. It's going to be a tough challenge for these young guys. Like you mentioned, you're taking on the best team in the American Hockey League this year in the Providence Bruins, and I believe they have the reigning goaltending champ from the American Hockey League and Michael DiPietro. So what's the conversations been like with your team going into this next level of competition?
Well, we've started just to ramp up, and Providence is a heck of a hockey club. They're very well coached. Coach of the Year, Ryan Mougenel. They have the goaltender of the year, MVP, and Michael DiPietro, like you said, but their team is very deep. Depending on what happens with the Bruins, they might get a couple, young guys down, which is a potential as well. But even without them, they have a strong team. There's a reason why they were first in the league by a mile. Very structured team, that competes hard. For us, we've played them well. We split the series at 5-5-2 with them season series. So we've played them well. We have our hands full. We're ready for this next level. And just honestly, to be playing in this meaningful games isn't enough. We want to take the next step to make sure that we continue to go on this type of run. The team's bought in from our veteran guys, goaltenders, and our young guys, and we're having a lot of fun and energy with it.
Love to hear it. Hey, one more. Has the family and has Maverick made his way to any games yet? And has he started the shirts off and waving them around in the air rallies at these games?
Well, they came in about maybe a month ago for 5 days to see a few games at home, and I didn't see him, and so they didn't catch a clip if he did have his shirt off. But they're planning on actually coming in next week to catch one of the playoff games as well. So excited to see them and bring some energy to the crowd if that happens.
Oh, he absolutely will. Steve, we love getting to catch up with you, man. Congrats on the round 1 victory. Keep it going, and hopefully we're talking to you after a round 2 winner. Always appreciate the time, my man, and best of luck in this series.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate having me on.
There you go. Steve Ott, head coach for the Springfield Thunderbirds, with us on the Callier and Thompson hotline.
That's an NHL head coach.
Yes. Every time I hear him talk, when he's an assistant coach, I mean, every time I hear him talk, I'm like, this guy is going to be an NHL coach. I think from the Blues' perspective, they would love it if they could get one more year of Steve Ott as the Thunderbirds head coach. Because if you think about having Carbonneau and Juracek here next year, potentially another really high draft pick if he decides to go to the American Hockey League right away, to have that as your coach for a lot of these guys that are trying to make the NHL roster, that's the mindset you wanted, man. If you think about how much they've gone through in terms of head coaches in the American Hockey League, Craig Berube was there, and then I forget who was after Craig Berube. I think there was somebody in between Berube and Bannister, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back. I thought so, but maybe not. But Bannister, and then when you had Connor Walchuk, and that didn't work out for them.
Wait, do you mean at the AHL level?
Yes. No. AHL level.
I apologize. I thought you were talking about, I was like,
no, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I feel like I would remember that, but I don't know, man.
For the American Hockey League,
I should listen to the show.
It was Berube, and I don't remember if there was if somebody in between. But
I was preparing my next follow-up. I had something else that I wanted to ask Alex about.
Regardless, what I'm trying to say is, like, the American Hockey League has just been in flux for the Blues for the longest time. They were San Antonio there for a while, Chicago for a while. They finally found a home, and you finally found a coach. I don't think he's going to be there very long, but if you could get one more year from Steve Ott as the Thunderbirds head coach, that could go miles for your development of your younger players. Your follow-up question, Brandon.
Yeah, I apologize. Gordy Kinnear, I believe, was the head coach of the Springfield Thunderbirds before Drew Bannister. I have no idea if the Blues were affiliated at that time.
Probably not. That might have been the Rampage at the time.
Great. So back to the Blues.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, buddy.
So, listen, I am only asking about the hockey side of things. All right? I just want to make that very clear.
I know where you're going. Yes.
I am talking about the hockey side of things. And everything else we've given our thoughts on, and you can go back. There is a full podcast of us talking about this in the past. But from a hockey perspective, Dylan Dubé has been very good for the Springfield Thunderbirds this year. Very good. He has scored 20 goals, and he's basically a point-per-game player for them. And you just heard Steve Ott talk about what he brings both on the ice and off the ice for the team. You can accept that. You can reject that. That's totally fine. I am just asking from a hockey perspective about Alex's opinion on the matter. This is a guy that when he played for Calgary was on some really good teams with them and was a consistent, like, basically close to 20-goal scorer, 45-point producer. Is this somebody that you think could fit into the Blues plans next year?
Yeah, I do. I don't think he's nothing more than a fourth-line player in my mind.
How come?
I
mean, he was more than that with a really good Calgary team.
He was, but let's remember who was on those Calgary teams.
No doubt.
Matthew, there was a lot of guys. But he still is a guy that can score 18 goals at the NHL level. I think the style that he plays is probably more in line with a third or a fourth line for the Blues, and maybe some offensive upside there. The hard part for me with where he fits in is, like we've talked about in the past, like, where's he finding playing time? Because Stenberg's going to be trying to get ice time. You're going to be seeing Bergeron trying to get ice time. Kaskamaki, the one I asked him about, again, all I hear from the Blues personnel is how much they love this kid. So, like, you're down in the pecking order. But I will say, typically when guys latch onto AHL teams, they stick around and you get those two-way contracts. Now, he would have to go through waivers, but yeah, I could see him as a guy that the Blues look at and say, let's sign him again. and put him in training camp and see if he outcompetes with Nathan Walker, Toropchenko, Jack Finley, Berggren. Like, you want that competition for those guys. He can't score at the NHL level. He plays with some nastiness, if I remember correctly, when he was with Calgary. I just don't know how high he can go in the pecking order versus some of these other pieces.
Yeah, I don't think he's a top 6 player. I think he is a bottom 6 player for you. But if you had a situation where you make some of the moves that we've been talking about, maybe you trade Kyrou, maybe you decide, maybe in a different trade, you acquire Brady Tkachuk. So you're trading Kyrou, maybe that gets you a defenseman.
Yeah.
You trade, let's say it's Jake Neighbors and Carbonneau and a first-round pick or something like that, right? I hear you, but you've now added a legit defenseman via the Kyrou trade, and you've added Brady Tkachuk to your top 6. So it's Tkachuk, Holloway, Snuggerud, and who am I missing here? Tkachuk, Holloway, Snuggerud, and
Thomas?
Somebody else in your top 6. Doesn't matter. Dubé could be one of
center.
Dubé could be one of those wingers.
Yeah, and here's the thing:
the third line.
He's a center too. Like he plays the center for the Thunderbirds. He's played wing in the past in Calgary, so he's versatile in that front. So yeah, guys like this is the depth that you want. You remember when they gave the PTO to Milan Lucic, and we were all like, that guy could make the team, and he was slow. They bring those PTO guys in to try and push some of your NHL guys to perform well in camp so that they don't lose a roster spot. A guy like Dylan Dubé, who away from the hockey side of things has had a personal side that has kept him away from the game. He's trying to get back into the game. He has been one of their best players. He's been a leader, like you heard Steve Ott mention. That's a guy that goes into training camp next year, and the Blues say, let's see if you could push Toropchenko. Let's see if you could push Nathan Walker, Jack Finley. And if you do, then one of those guys is on the outside looking in, and Dubé gets that chance. But I think he's going to be a part of the team no matter what next year. It's just, does he get an NHL spot rather than just go back to the American Hockey League?
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Questions and Answers is next here on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and get them in right now on the Air Comfort Service text line. From the 573, guys, if everyone continues to play as they are right now, what do you think the lineup will look like when Lars Nootbaar returns? I think Church goes to center and Scott's on the bench.
Scott just hit a home run last night.
If you assume everybody is playing as they have so far this year. Now, that won't happen because stuff changes. Baseball is not static. There is always an ebb and a flow to the season. But if you're asking me, like, if Nootbaar returned today, what do I think the lineup would look like tomorrow? I think that would be it.
It's a lot of lefties.
Yep.
How are you going to go left,
Doesn't
right,
change,
left, right?
though, for
Yeah, you're right.
Victor Scott versus Nathan Church. They're both left-handed, so.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with the position that you had there. Like, I think it would be Church slides over to center, Nootbaar's in left. How they would construct the lineup, I don't really know because you don't have a great spot to hit Nootbaar. Like, I think you either hit him fifth or you probably move him down to, like, seventh would be where I guess you would hit him.
You probably put Church 9 and him 7.
It's kind of what I was thinking.
Yep.
And I don't know how Noot would feel about it, but honestly, him in that double leadoff spot would be perfect. So honestly, I would probably hit Nootbaar 9. I don't know that they would do that since he's a veteran.
Yeah, I agree. I think you could consider, I don't know that they would do this right upon his return, but I mean, there's a scenario where it would make sense to hit him third, put Burles in 5. You could go Weatherholt 1, Herrera 2, Newt 3, Walker 4, Burles in 5. And then Wynn 6, Gorman 7, Pages 8, and Church 9. I think that could work too. I don't know what they'll end up doing, but there's a few different ways that you could go about it. He'll probably bat 3, 5, or 7 is my guess. I don't think he'll bat 9.
I don't think he will either, even though I think it would make a ton of sense. I don't know that I like him in the 3 spot just because he is more of a walk guy.
I hear you.
So I would prefer to have Burley, although granted Burley's been taking his walks, but he's more of a free swinger. So I would say 5th, but he's just not an ideal 5-hole hitter, which is what makes it interesting.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. Alex, this one's for you. Do you think Dylan Peterson could be a 4th liner for the Blues next year?
Maybe. I don't think he's going to get that job yet. He's still got some defensive angles to his game he's got to work on, but he's the net front presence with the bite that you'd always need. So, yeah, I could see it happening. I think the 4th line next year might still be a revolving door. I think there's a chance Toropchenko and Nathan Walker lose their jobs next season to other guys that can fill in on that 4th line role.
From the 636, the Cardinals will finish April with a winning record. How far do they exceed expectations for the first month of the season? I'm guessing that's in this hypothetical world where they finish with a winning record. Oh, wait, no, they will finish with a winning record because of the schedule. Good job, BK.
All right. How about them Cardinals?
That's a win. I mean, it's better than anybody could have reasonably expected at this point in the season.
Yeah, I frankly didn't think they'd have a winning month this season.
Yeah, it exceeds my expectations by everything, right? Because I didn't think they would. I agree kind of with Alex. I didn't think they'd have a winning month, let alone in April, right? And the fact that they're doing it with a pitching staff that stinks, if we're being honest. Most of the bullpen you don't trust. I mean, the bullpen made that game interesting last night. And then the offense has been the thing that's really exceeding expectations. And you look at their schedule, and I know some of these teams haven't lived up to expectations, but the Tigers, they lost 2 of 3, but they were in that series for 2 of those games. They were a team viewed as a contender. Boston was a team viewed as a contender. Cleveland's viewed as a team that could be a playoff team. They took 2 of 3. Houston was kind of viewed that way, and they swept them. Miami's an interesting team. Seattle, they were competitive with, even though they got swept. Like, they've played some solid teams in this month of baseball.
They've just played good baseball. Like they've just been now we're only a month in, but in the first month of the season, they've been good. Just flat out. You don't have to have a disclaimer here. You don't have to, but no, they've been good so far. I don't know how sustainable any of that is, but so far they've been a good baseball team. And here's a quick follow-up on it. If I take away Jordan Walker, set him aside for a moment, who's been the guy that has really dramatically outperformed your expectations? And that's maybe, to me, what's most interesting about it. I don't think there's an obvious answer.
Probably Weatherholt. I don't know if I expected him to be this good right away.
So he would be my answer.
I'm personally there with you. He's only at an 800 OPS, which is really good, don't get me wrong. But it's not as though he's had a Jordan Walker-esque start to the season. He's just getting on base at a really high clip, which isn't hugely surprising. He's been a good on-base guy throughout his entire minor league career as well. And while, yes, he is hitting for power, I thought he would have more doubles power than this and a little less home run power than this. So the slugging percentage isn't crazy compared to expectations either. It's like, I'm with you, Alex. It has been surprising. It has outperformed my expectations. It's not as wildly outperforming them as like what Jordan Walker has done, for example.
And I think that goes to tell you what the season's been. It's been a win by committee rather than one guy getting it done for you. Walker carried you for a couple of weeks on his back, but then since then it's just been a win by committee, which honestly you kind of need in a rebuild.
And everybody's just kind of been like 5% better than you expected them to be. You know, like I would say so far this year, Nathan Church, little better than I expected him to be. Pedro Baez, little better than I expected him to be. Ramon Urias at the beginning of the season, little better than I expected. Michael McGreevy, the overall numbers, little better than I probably anticipated, especially given how much he was dealing with a lack of velo early in the season. Everybody's just been a little better. Pretty good start.
Yeah, and no black holes really outside Scott. Scott's been a bit of a has been a black hole, but like going into the year, I would have thought we would have been saying about Walker, Gorman, the catcher spot when it wasn't Herrera, and Pages has been surprisingly 10% above league average, and then add on top of Scott. Like, that's why I said at the beginning of the year, I said they'd have the worst slugging percentage in baseball, because I saw 4 major holes in this lineup, and then I had no idea who was going to be hitting for true power.
Speaking of power, at what point do we just believe in what the Cardinals are showing in that specific area? We'll talk about that next year on 101 ESPN.
Third baseman Nolan Gorman leads off. And he unloads on the first pitch. That one walloped down the line, and it is gone. That one might have gone to the river. Nolan Gorman with a second inning ambush makes it 1-0.
That's what it sounded like last night on Cardinals TV. Cardinals now 10th in Major League Baseball in slugging percentage. They're 8th in home runs this year. They have 38 home runs, Alex, at this point in the season. Now, I wanted to look back. How often do the Cardinals do that at this point in the season? 38 homers at this point.
BK loves getting to do that.
In the last 20 years, how many times do you think they've done it? T-Bone, I'm guessing you saw it in the notes. Alex, I'm guessing you did not. So how many times do you think they have done this in the last 20 years?
6 times.
3. 3 other times have they had this many home runs at this juncture. 2021, don't look at how that season ended. 2019,
I don't need to look at how that season ended.
2016. Those are the 3 other times that it's happened in the last 20 years. Here's some more notes on this. Since 2016, over the last decade, teams to hit this many home runs in their first 29 games, there have been 65 of them. I'm eliminating the COVID year because it was fake baseball. Of those 65 teams, 42 finished at least 500, 31 made it to the playoffs, and only 11 lost more than 90 games. To add some more context on teams that had this kind of power this early in the season, the last thing that we saw was last season. The teams that did this last year were the A's. That was surprising. Kind of played out that they were a better team than anybody expected. The Cubs, the Diamondbacks, the Angels, the Mariners, the Yankees, and the Dodgers. Those were the 7. Most of them were really good, or at least interesting the entirety of the season. And then there's the Angels, who were hanging out with company they shouldn't have been keeping. Alex, at what point do we just believe that the Cardinals have more power than we expected this season?
Here, now, I guess. Every time I want to sit here and doubt it, they find ways to hit multiple home runs in the next game. I mean, I can sit here and say till I'm blue in the face, yeah, but it can't sustain. Until I see it lacking the ability to continue all season long, I have to acknowledge they have guys that can hit home runs for you. I think power is different than what we view power back in the day, to where it's like these big burly guys that stand at the plate and they're in the 3 and 4 hole hitters. I mean, Weatherholt has the ability to hit you 25 home runs in a season. Right now, it seems like you're going to get that from a lot of unlikely characters, whether it's Jordan Walker at the beginning of this season, maybe Alec Burleson, maybe Ivan Herrera. They've got guys that can showcase their power. I thought that was going to be the worst asset of this team this season, was
everybody did.
Their lack of power. And right now, yeah, I don't know if they're going to stay top 10. Frankly, I doubt it, because I think a lot of teams are underperforming when it comes to power. But this team is not going to be bottom 5 like I thought they originally were going to be. So yeah, I'm fine buying into it now, because it's hard to deny it anymore.
I also don't think they're going to be bottom 5 in Major League Baseball in doubles this season. I think we've started to see that tick up a little bit over the last week, and I think that will continue to take place, because this is a team that hits a ton of line drives, or at least they should. Like, you look at J.J. Weatherholt, he has 3 doubles and 6 home runs on the season. I think as this season progresses, that will flip, and you'll see him with like almost twice as many doubles as he does home runs over the course of the year. I think Nathan Church is a guy that should be hitting a lot of doubles over the course of the season. He's fast, he's athletic, and he hits line drives. I think Jordan Walker is going to hit a lot more doubles than what he has so far this year. Burley is finally starting to get there. You saw that a couple of times yesterday. He now has 8 doubles on the season. Herrera is another guy that should hit, and that was so basically the entire roster is doubles centric, and that has not necessarily been the case up until like the last 10 days. So I think you're going to see that slugging percentage, even as the home run power maybe starts to damp it down. I think you will see the doubles start to creep back up. I think they could be top of half of the league in doubles and maybe 15th to 20th in home runs. And that's roughly a middle of the pack team when it comes to slugging percentage. Guys, if I had told you the odds at the beginning of the season on the Cardinals being average when it came to slugging, all of us would have laughed at anybody who tried to sell us on that notion. And yet here we are, and I think that's probably realistic for them. T-Bone, how do you feel about that?
I'm with you there, because I think we're at the point of the year to where I'm looking at most of these guys, and if you would have told me what their power was going to clock in at, like best case scenario, I think you're kind of there right now, right? Like Walker, this is what you wanted to see from Jordan Walker. Gorman hasn't gone really on that teared month yet, and I don't know if that will be in his bat or not. But those are really the guys that were kind of the big X factors here. And then Weatherholt had more power than I expected. But I agree with what you said. As the home runs will come down, which it does feel like it's going to happen, because it's not like this team's going to have multiple 30 home run hitters. I think the best case for that is Walker. They could have multiple 20 home run guys, though, which we really question as being something that they could do this season. But as they start to hit more doubles, it's going to help kind of level out that slugging percentage. So I agree. I think this is the power you can buy into, right? And this isn't one of those things to where it gets worse as the season goes on. Typically, your slug gets better as the season goes on, because as it starts to warm up, the baseball starts to fly. Even here at Busch Stadium, the ballpark doesn't travel well, particularly at any point in the year, but it will start to travel better as we get to those 110-degree days. So I do think it's going to be a middle-of-the-pack offense when it comes to their slugging percentage, which for them is a huge win for a team that had expectations of, like, we're going to single you to death and that's how we're going to score runs. That's not how they're doing it this year. They keep selling on their we're playing hard, and they are. What they're actually doing is damage, and that's how come they're able to put up some crooked numbers like we saw last night in innings.
It's been shocking. Like, I can't imagine anything more surprising this year than the Cardinals winning because of their slug.
They really do feel like a group of guys that don't know they're supposed to be bad, that are just going out there and just smashing.
I've enjoyed the hell out of it, man. I was listening to Michael McGreevy on TMA earlier today. I don't know if you guys heard their interview at all. He's joined them, like, I think 10 times over the last week, by the way. It's been great. It's like him and Jeff Suppan every day. I assume that one of them or both will be joining TMA. A guy's just unbelievably likable. Mm-hmm. Like, I listen to him and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's young Wainwright. And I'm not talking about as a starting pitcher.
Geez, here we go. Man,
from a pitching perspective, I don't see that. But personality-wise, it's hard not to make the comparison. He sounds just like him on the radio. And they're both incredibly affable guys, super likable. I don't know. I've been wildly entertained by this team so far this season.
They don't seem to have a guy. Now, I haven't been in the clubhouse yet this season. I hope to at some point. But they just don't seem to have a guy, just from the television perspective, that's unlikable. To where in years past, it's felt like there's just guys that...
Even if they did, I wouldn't say it on the air probably, but I do agree with you. I don't think they have somebody like that.
I mean, like...
I think we all agree O'Neill was that guy.
It's not that,
Who?
like...
O'Neill.
It's interesting because I think there were times when that was the case for his teammates. I never felt that, though. Like, Tyler O'Neill was always great to us. He was awesome to be around at the clubhouse. I always felt like he was an easy guy to talk to.
Sometimes it's just a personality. When you hear guys talk, it's like, I don't know how much fun that guy would be around for 162 games. I just don't feel that way.
Arenado was that.
Goldschmidt was kind of that way, even though Goldie was a great dude.
Great with his teammates.
Sure.
He was just boring.
It's a boring guy, though. And, like, I don't get that vibe for any of those guys in that room.
I think Arenado was a pain in the ass at times.
I think that's a fair statement. You said you didn't want to say it. I think we've talked about that.
Yeah, I think that's the guy we're all thinking of. Like, I didn't feel that way necessarily about O'Neill. I hear what you're saying, though. The on-field stuff was annoying sometimes. But, like, off-field, I never really got that vibe. I think Arenado was a little difficult.
Yeah.
And I don't think they have that in the clubhouse right now. At least as far as I can tell. We'll see. You know, we're still a month in. These guys are all very young. Maybe something will grow in that area. But I think
when they had a lot of those veteran presence that they wanted to, like, surround the team with, I think there's times that those guys just don't leak off on the younger players the way you want them to. And now you just got a group of guys that don't have to worry about any of that.
And some players, and it's not a bad thing if you're a player that feels this way, is I don't want to be the mentor, right? I got to worry about myself at the big league level because I got to figure out how to hit that guy that's throwing 100 miles an hour, that can spin the ball, that it moves sideways X amount of inches, that it's hard to hit enough in baseball. I don't have time to be taking on this whole mentor role that teams want us to take on. Some veterans feel that way, right? Some don't mind it. Some don't, like Bregman, for example. Bregman's a guy that seems to be, I want to be the mentor. I'm going to be the leader of the clubhouse. Some veterans don't want that, and I don't know if that was the case for some of the Cardinals veterans over the years. I think there was some that didn't like it. I think Arenado was one of them, for example. He
said it publicly, yeah.
I think that's part of it right now. They're all in the same age group for the most part, or they're all kind of being thrust into for the first time of, hey, it's your clubhouse, you guys figure it out, and then they're all just kind of bonding together and doing it.
I think in the past, the Cardinals have fallen victim to what the Blues fell victim to in the first couple months of the season, to where season's not going well, individuals go, well, I got to fix this, and I got my own problems to worry about, to rather worry about the team. And now you've just got a group of guys that when something doesn't go well, all of them are like, shake it off and go back in the next one because nobody's really worried about their individual stats right now. And I think that's a good thing to have.
I think a lot of this goes back to expectations. Like for the first time in T-Bone's life, the Cardinals didn't come into the season with expectations. Like if this was a different season and everything about it remained true, there's literally nothing that I changed. They've lost the same way. They've won the same way. All of this is true. I think we'd probably be talking slightly differently about the team. I think the bullpen would be coming under a lot more fire right now. I think we would be talking more about, hey, this starting pitching is just not good enough. It's not going to be able to get you to where you want to go. Kyle Leahy has a 5.5 ERA, and there's nothing about it that you can look under the hood and be like, yeah, that's going to get better.
That would be the one that would really be screwed from the mountaintops.
No doubt. And when you look at the lineup, like, okay, it's time to put an end to the Victor Scott experience. Like, that's not fun anymore to watch that guy who's trying to slap singles all around, but he's getting on base 24% of the time and can't maximize his value on the base paths, where he has exactly 3 stolen bases this year, which is, I believe, tied for like 5th on the team in stolen bases so far this season, along with Mason Wynn and Nathan Church. Like Pedro Pages has 2, Victor Scott has 3. So we'd be talking a lot more about that stuff. But because they didn't have expectations coming into the season, and right now they're 3 games above 500, we're all looking at it and it's like, damn, this team's fun. They're young, they're scrappy, they're interesting, they seem super likable, they don't have any personalities that you look at and you're like, well, that guy seems like he would be a bump on a log to be around every day.
A bump on a log.
How old is the person that says that on average?
At least 75.
Yeah. Okay.
Tanner's age is who says bump on a log.
That person really enjoyed 80s Cardinals baseball.
Tanner every once in a while will make a joke to himself in his apartment after he sits on the couch for 2 hours and say, I'm just being a bump on the log today.
No, not even I would say that.
Coming up in 15 minutes, Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues. But next, the Brady Tkachuk conversation is sweeping back up again because he talks to the media today.
Again?
We'll let you hear it next here on 101 ESPN.
Of course, I wasn't here for, everybody's meetings and the other day, and so I haven't had the chance to talk to Steve. But I mean, I feel like I've answered this hundreds of times that none of that. I feel like I've never shown. I've never said. None of those things ever came out of my mouth, and quite honestly, it's just getting frustrating. It's becoming a distraction, and because I have been fully committed to this team, to the city, and it's just becoming a distraction, frustrating to deal with.
So frustrating that you'd want out?
Wearing a Obi Clark's hat?
I loved that so much. I don't want to be traded while I'm wearing an Obi Clark's hat.
That was Brady Tkachuk at his press conference today. He was not able to go to the exit interviews the other day. Had a pretty good explanation for it. The birth of his second child. Congratulations to the Tkachuks.
Did you see the baby was born 12 hours after the game wrapped up? So that the emotional highs and lows of my team just got swept in the playoffs to my wife is having a baby. Yeah. Oh, man. That's why hockey players plan it that way, so they don't think about the playoff loss. They go and have kids.
He was well prepared to be booted from the postseason, apparently.
Tinfoil, maybe he was planning it all along.
No, I'm not going there. All right, alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, that was Brady Tkachuk, audio courtesy of TSN as Brady Tkachuk talks to the media up there in Ottawa earlier today. He has 2 years left on his contract, Alex. $8.2 million, full no-move clause. He gets to dictate what happens from here.
Yep.
That's the biggest thing. If Brady Tkachuk says, guys, I want to play in Ottawa. What are we talking about here? This is ridiculous. Well, then he's going to play in Ottawa for the next couple of seasons. And then after next year, he has the opportunity to extend long-term. He can do a full-term deal with the Ottawa Senators, continue to be their captain for as long as he wants to be. That is in play here. Or he could ask to be traded elsewhere. We have no idea what's going on behind the scenes, Alex. Let's talk about this from the Senators' perspective for a moment. Because we've talked a lot about, hey, if this is available, all of us in this room would be in favor of the Blues going up and making the move. Get aggressive, do what you need to do to acquire Brady Tkachuk. Some of us are willing to be more aggressive than others, but aggressive nonetheless. If you're the Senators, does it make sense to do this right now, Alex?
Absolutely not. You missed the playoffs for 7 straight seasons. You've made the playoffs the last 2 years. Last year, you made it to Game 6. This year, you were swept. Some could call it a setback, whatever you want to look at it as. You don't make the playoffs after rebuilding and tanking for 7 straight years, and then when you get there, all of a sudden say, we're trading away our captain. Whether you think he's a difference maker or not, he's viewed as the star in the game. He's their captain. What does that tell a team that has been trying to get to the playoffs for 7 years that, hey, we're going to move the captain because he doesn't want to re-sign an extension with us, which you don't even know if he wants to yet or not. You can't know. So, no, this would make 0 sense from the Ottawa Senators' perspective unless they are getting back a return that makes them more likely to win a playoff series than having Brady Tkachuk in your lineup.
And good luck.
Yeah.
Like I don't see a realistic return
because
where
you also
you're
have
saying
to find
we're
a captain.
upgrading from Brady Tkachuk.
This is one of those trades that you make it knowing you lose the trade. I mean, you see these all the time.
Or at least right now. Maybe down the road, it could be the Buffalo trade where they send Ryan O'Reilly to the St. Louis Blues, and they're saying, hey, Tage Thompson is not going to be as good as Ryan O'Reilly right now, but when we're good again in 3 years, Tage Thompson will be better at that point than what Ryan O'Reilly.
What I would say is that happens once in a blue moon, right? Like, I think the odds of that occurring are very rare.
The Panthers trade. I mean, at the time, we all thought that was a ridiculous trade that Florida made.
Some of us didn't.
Thanks, man.
Some of us didn't.
I tried to tell you guys.
A lot of people viewed that as, hold on, you just gave up a 100-point player who was a centerman.
And terrible defensively. It was a complete outlier of a season, and everybody knew it at the time.
You just gave up a defenseman that was viewed as one of the young and up-and-coming guys.
And is not great defensively, but is a pretty solid player. But let's be real, if that's the biggest asset you get for Matthew Tkachuk and you got no higher upside than that, it probably wasn't a very good deal, and everybody got completely out over their skis. Also, they locked themselves in to salary cap hell with no ways to get out of it for the next 5 years.
It is weird how you remember everything I said on that trade.
Me too, man. You must really listen to this show.
By the way, another reminder of Brad Treliving of what a failure of a GM he is. Good thing he's up for another gig.
I can't wait for him to get another job.
Yeah. If I'm Ottawa, by the way, I'm with you, Alex. I'm not trading Brady Tkachuk this offseason. Like, if I were doing radio up in Ottawa right now, I would say, I don't even care if that guy came to me and said, I want out today. I say, that's great. We'll have a conversation in a year.
Doug said that at the press conference. He's like, well, people, like, all of these trade rumors get legs, but he's like, this is typically a 50-50 split, where the player could go to the owner or the general manager and say, I want out. And the general manager could look at him and say, that's great. Because you've got a contract and we're trying to win a Stanley Cup.
I can't think of a hockey player off the top of my head, so maybe you can come up with this while I'm bringing this up. But we see this across sports all the time where a guy says, I want out, I'm not happy, and then winning solves everything. Or it's money, right? Remember Myles Garrett? I want out of Cleveland. And then Cleveland said, how about we make you the highest paid non-quarterback everywhere? I love Cleveland. Oh my God, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is here. It's great. So
I mean, it's rare that you see that because most times teams, especially in hockey, they value locker room and they don't want disgruntled players around. So typically when guys say they want out and they know that there's never, like Jack Eichel's a great example. Jack Eichel was like, I need out of this. And Buffalo's like, yeah, okay.
Jack Eichel also was coming back from a neck surgery that nobody knew how he was going to be playing with it.
That's fine. But if I'm Buffalo, I'm like, yeah, but you're still a star player. And even if this neck surgery, like we're still banking on you being the face. And they said, no, we just need to move on.
Yeah. You know my opinion on this. I don't care. If I think that you're more valuable for me than you are as a trade asset, then I'm going to have you a part of my roster. I always go back to the Vladimir Tarasenko thing. He publicly asked for a trade. And the Blues said, cool. If we find a trade partner that makes sense for us, we'll do that. Otherwise, you're going to play hockey for the St. Louis Blues until we find a deal that makes sense.
And if you want out of St. Louis, go out and perform so that more teams want you, so then we'll get you out of St. Louis.
This Tkachuk situation is quite different than that because if the Senators made him available, they're going to get a good return.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't think the timing makes a lot of sense for them. They've got 2 years left on his deal. Next year, it's a very different conversation. Because if you go to Brady right now and say, are you going to be here long term? He can say yes or no. The answer doesn't matter. He can't actually act upon those thoughts. And something that happens next year could completely sway that in a good or a bad way. He may legitimately believe what he said earlier today, where he says, like, listen, I understand everybody's having these questions. I don't have those questions. I want to be an Ottawa Senator. I'm the captain of this team. I love my teammates. I enjoy living here. Like, I'm happy, and we're not having the success that we want to, but that's what's generating all of these questions. Maybe he believes every bit of that. And then maybe this time next year, they lose again in the playoffs, and he decides, you know what, it's not working here. So what he says today doesn't really matter. And the team can tell him, hey, we're going to do this for one more year. We want to see what this looks like with you and this core, and we're going to run it back. And we think this team has a really high upside. We think we're going to be able to piece things around you that are going to be able to, like, really push us through the postseason next year. You look at the East, it's pretty wide open. There's a chance for that to happen. Next year, you could have the conversation where it becomes real. Where if he decides that this time next year, I'm not going to re-sign, then if you're Ottawa, you say, all right, we got to make a move. We got to trade him because we've got to get a return on this investment. We can't lose Brady Tkachuk for nothing. We can't set our franchise back 5 years. And that is where I think they'll be at this time next year. But right now, I don't think it makes sense for either side to go this way, and especially not the Ottawa Senators. I think it makes sense for the Blues. I'd be in favor of it.
yeah.
But for the Senators, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, Ottawa's going to be looking at this as, look, we need to capitalize on this. We've got him for 2 more years. That means we've got 2 more years to try and chase a cup. Because when Tkachuk goes, if he decides to leave and not re-sign an extension, then you've got that decision to make to where it's like, look, do we want to try and chase a cup? Because unless we get the return that's similar to Brady, and I think the Calgary trade is going to be a warning sign of like, hey, man, be careful with what you trade because you don't know what you're getting back in return. Ottawa has to be very cautious because you're closer to winning a cup with Brady Tkachuk on your team than with what you're going to get back in return for Brady Tkachuk. Because remember, next season, the team that's going to trade for him is going to have to say, yeah, but we need to know if he's going to sign a contract extension. And if he's not willing to, then the team has to say, okay, well, we're not going to give you as much. So this is a tough spot to be in if you're Ottawa, which is why it always comes back to they're trying to win a cup. They're going to just lean into it and say, let's go win us a cup with Brady Tkachuk.
Just real quick reaction to something from the YouTube chat. YouTube.com/101ESPN STL will be joined by Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, coming up in about 5 minutes. Cat Dad Gamer says Brady's value drops every year that you keep him on the roster. Maybe. I don't know how much it really changes.
It does if an injury comes up and it's a massive injury to him. His game doesn't change.
I think the contracts, like if you're a team that is looking to acquire Brady Tkachuk right now and you don't think you're going to be able to re-sign him, he definitely has more value today than he would next year.
Oh.
But if you're the team that is trying to acquire Brady Tkachuk and he won't re-sign for you, he's not waiving his no-trade clause to come to you either, most likely. So in that scenario, you're not getting him anyway. So my guess is he's only going to go to a team that he'd be willing to re-sign with, and therefore his contract status actually doesn't really matter right now. The fact that he's got 2 years versus 1 year left, because the contracts that matters is whatever the extension is going to look like, and he can't negotiate that until this time next year. So I don't know that it really changes his value that much.
And to me, it doesn't for the style he plays. Like, power forwards are the same as long as they stay healthy. I mean, some guys can't, but look at Tom Wilson with Washington. His game doesn't change. The guy's the same player every single year because he's that power forward. And you know, I've seen people talk about, yeah, but he's older at that point. When the Blues acquired Keith Tkachuk, he was 29 years old.
I think the contract would, like, if he didn't have any no trade protection, I think the contract would matter. Because then, if you're a team that's not going to be able to extend him, you know, I've got 2 years to win with this guy. And that is far more valuable than 1 year to be able to win with him. It's the Juan Soto conversation from a few years ago at the deadline where you're like, all right, we can get 2 postseasons out of this. And if things go really poorly in year 1 and we decide we want to get out of this, we can also recoup some of that capital by going out and trading him again to somebody else, right? So I think in that scenario, it would potentially have more value. But that's not the world we live in. He does have no trade protection, and therefore he's probably going to block a trade to a place that he doesn't want to be in.
Yeah, the same
and
thing,
wouldn't resign.
The same thing would happen with Matthew. You got the 5 teams that he'd be willing to be traded to, and those were the 5 teams they had to negotiate with. And you're probably going to have the exact same scenario happen with Brady if it ever gets to that point. It's not going to get to that point until next offseason.
I'm with you. Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joins us next year on 101 ESPN.
All right, how many of you out there have been like me at my house, or at least my wife at my house, where over the last month you've gone from the heat to the air conditioning, back to the heat, back to the air conditioning? That literally happened just yesterday. One of the reasons that unit at the house is running so well, it's taken care of by Classic Air Care. Look, spring is here. You don't want this thing breaking down in the middle of the summer. Now, those things are inevitable, and they've got the technicians to handle it, and they can typically get to you within 24 hours. They've got over 100 vans on the road. So don't stress out if something does happen and that air conditioner does break down on you. They can get to you and get it fixed. But how do you avoid that? Well, the best things you can do to avoid it is maintain it. So number one, Classic Air Care reminds you to change the air filters. And if you need air filters, you can buy them on their website. The link is in the upper right-hand corner at classicaircare.com. The other thing you can do is just have them out there for a maintenance check. It's less than $100. They come out, they make sure everything is flowing right, cleaned right, everything is ready to go. That makes sure that maybe the unit doesn't have to overwork, strain itself, and potentially have an issue with it. Classic Air Care. Get them out to the house, do a maintenance check before the heat comes in. Make sure that AC is running fine for you. ClassicAirCare.com. They've been making people comfortable since 1926.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. The Cardinals took down the Pirates last night 11-7 as they have taken the first 2 games of the 4-game set in Pittsburgh. Game 3 will be tonight. Bubba Chandler will be on the mound for Pittsburgh. Andre Palante gets the start for St. Louis. And if you missed it earlier today on the show, we had a chance to catch up with Springfield Thunderbirds head coach Steve Ott. And if you missed the interview, you can check it out on the podcast page later today after the show. And the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber, joins us next here on BK and Ferrario. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
Let's go out to the Callier and Thompson hotline to be joined by the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber, joining us here on BK and Ferrario. Curbs, what's going on, man? How you doing today?
BK, I'm good. How are you?
Doing really well. What's been interesting to you so far? What stood out to you about the NHL postseason?
You know what? Some of it has been, despite even a couple of these series going 3-1, just how close, the all-around play has been. Obviously, that wasn't quite the case with Ottawa, Carolina, or L.A., Colorado. But, man, you look at these other series and these things going into overtime, the intensity, the physicality, and just how things have been flowing. It's just amazing to me that after a season as long as the NHL season is, the physical grind that the NHL season is, it is amazing to me how these athletes find even yet another level for the next 2 months. It's phenomenal.
When you watch these teams play, Curbs, do you think back to the Blues and do you believe they're closer than what we originally thought or further away when you see how these teams perform in the playoffs?
That's a great boy. It's the number of times you think that and you wonder it. I think the Blues are much closer than you might think when it comes to making the playoffs. I think with a better start, this was a playoff team that they had this year. I really do believe that they had enough veteran key pieces, enough skill in the lineup to be able to make the playoffs, especially in what was a down year for the Western Conference, right? When making the playoffs is one thing, as the Ottawa Senators, and the LA Kings, LA is now bowed out in the first round in 5 straight years, right, are finding out. Getting to the next level in the playoffs, that they've got some work to do on, and you could definitely see the difference, in what that takes. So, there's still some work to do, but I don't think they're as far off as most people would think.
Would you say they're like a Brady Tkachuk away?
Absolutely.
Yeah, listen, whether it's Brady Tkachuk or yes. I'll simply answer that. Yeah, I think they're that kind of player. They're that kind of player away from being much more contending, if that makes sense, right? You can make the playoffs without them. But that kind of player is the kind of player that can get you the next couple of levels there. I was thinking about it today. In 2006, Blues, the cupboard was absolutely bare. There was, there was absolutely nothing, right? And then they didn't make the conference final until 2016, right? That was a 10-year period. Well, this time around, the cupboard isn't bare when the Blues have started this retool. So, you don't expect that to, say, take 10 years. right? But because, again, that was a total rebuild that the Blues are in that one. So, yeah, I think with a couple of shrewd moves, I think that this team is right there in the mix and can get a really good really quick. And I also don't think it happens with all these young players staying with the Blues. I just don't know that that's possible to have it happen if that's the case.
So as a follow-up on that, Curbs, and we just had a full conversation for like 12 minutes on the radio on how much it doesn't really make sense for the Ottawa Senators to trade Brady Tkachuk at this time, even if he did want out in a hypothetical world where that was his thought process. But from the Blues' perspective, let's go down a different path here for a moment. Let's say he does want out and the Senators say, you know what, let's go ahead and capitalize on this while we can. Let's get as much in return for Brady Tkachuk as possible. What do you think a return would look like for Brady Tkachuk? Because I have to imagine they're not just giving the guy away for free. It's going to cost you a lot.
Well, think of what his brother cost, right? Top-end player that had just scored 100 points, a top-4 defenseman, and then picks and a prospect went with it. And to me, this would be in that same realm. And I believe the Blues have all of that. So, I would expect it to be that astronomical, that big. But I also think that in certain cases, there's some players where that's worth it. Guys, let's go another direction with this, PK. Like, you look at the Dallas Stars, they get Rantanen, right? You look at some of these other teams that found a way. When some guys come available, at some point you want to see the Blues step in there. If you're not going to be drafting high enough to get those superstar caliber players, and it's clearly that they're not going to be, okay? It's clear that, unless they get lucky and win the draft lottery on Monday, it's clear that that's just not the case. So you got to find it. You got to go find your Dustin Browns at 13, your Anze Kopitar's at 11, your Pasternak's at 26, right? Your Robert Thomas's at 20th, and maybe your Snuggaroos at 23rd. Otherwise, you got to acquire those guys via free agency or trade. And number one, I don't fully buy into that you can't get free agents to come to St. Louis. I think you got to change the game and find a way to get them here. Or number two, to me, you got to do it via trade. When somebody likes that available, you got to go all in to try to get it if it's going to help your franchise. And, I'm not who knows how that one's going to play out based on what Steve Staios said. There's a long drama coming in that scenario. But if it does happen, I think you're definitely at the doorstep saying we want to take you to the dance.
And then the comparison to the Dallas Stars there, Curbs, we've seen them make a lot of moves like that over the years because they were in that winning window to where they felt like, look, we're one piece away from getting to that Stanley Cup championship. You mentioned, the Blues are that one shrewd move away to getting into that contending window. Does something need to happen this season for the Blues to feel like, hey, now's the time to start pushing in some of these assets to go get that piece? Or do you feel like they're still maybe a year or two away just to let the development take its course with the Carbonneau and Jiricek and whatnot?
Well, let me go this way. If you have a bigger start to the season, right? You have a better start to the season, and even if you lose in the first round of the playoffs, do you feel like you're much closer than you are sitting where you're sitting right now? And the answer to that is simply yes, right? So, and yeah, I realize I just threw a lot of ifs and buts in there, and you got to go with you are what your record says you are. And okay, so I understand all that, but to me, I don't know that they're a couple of years away from it if you're patient and helping that it's going to be all development that gets you there, right? But look at, again, this is philosophical, and I don't know where Alex Steen or Doug Armstrong or Tom Stillman or any of those guys are at on this. I haven't had this conversation, right? So this is the sake of just discussing to discuss it, right? But look at what the Vegas Golden Knights have done. Look at how they have stayed in a window. Look at the approach. And it's just not as simple as everybody wants to go play in Vegas. Is that part of it? Sure. Not naive to not think that that's the case, okay? But there's more to it than that, okay? If you look at the Dallas Stars have done it with pretty much just two guys, and they've continued to and that was Sagan and Benn. And Jamie Benn is a shell of what he was, and Tyler Sagan was injured most of this year. Now, look, they still might get eliminated, in the first round of the playoffs, okay? But they played a whole year second fiddle to the President's Trophy winner. They've been aggressive. There's ways to do it, not just through developing a whole stable. And I think the Blues are going to find themselves in their sweet spot of a mix of the acquisitions plus the development, because that's kind of right where this franchise is sitting right now, and I think they're in a great spot for it.
Chris Kerber is the voice of the Blues, joins us weekly here on BK and Ferrario. Appreciate his time as always. Kerbs, before we get you out of here today, did want to ask you one final question about the Blues as we head into the offseason. Earlier this week, we talked to Jeremy Rutherford, and he had a piece breaking down what he thought would be the prediction that he has for every move of the Blues offseason. He basically had them making no real outside additions after going through his piece, and instead just extending Dylan Holloway and focusing on some of the young players. Do you think that's a realistic outcome for the Blues offseason this year?
I do. It's not maybe an overly exciting one, from a fan standpoint, but yes, I do think that is a realistic outcome for the Blues this year, and I think that reason is you want to make sure you know what you've got with some of these young pieces and some of these picks coming up, and have a real good assessment for where you're at. Now, I'm going to take there's one quote / comment to me that I take into the off season that has me kind of watching how the tides flow, and that was Jim Montgomery's comment about we need more players that are ready to go at the start of the year. When he made that comment to me, that was an interesting one. That tells me that evaluations are not just about how many points do you put up, but it's about attitude and drive and all this other stuff. And so I look at this summer, guys, and especially knowing how we know Alexander Steen looks at things, I look at this summer to me as a summer of character for this team. This is a personality adjustment kind of summer for this team for me, and we'll see how that all plays out. But if you look at the way the last 3 seasons have gone, you look at the starts, and then you look at the finishes, things like that, there's a little bit of a personality adjustment that probably feels like it's coming, and that's the way I'm viewing this offseason at the moment.
Kerbs, I lied. I've got to ask you this question that just came in on the text line. They asked it of Alex. I want to ask it of you. If the Blues were to win the lottery and the Senators call you up and say, we'll trade you Brady Tkachuk straight up for the number 1 overall pick this year, would you make that trade?
It's a fascinating question. I don't make that trade because I don't think that I don't make that trade. I think if you're the Blues, I think you pick it. I think it's a deep top 5 from what I'm being told. So no, I don't make that trade. I don't think a trade for Brady Tkachuk would come first overall pick. High picks and a good player, yeah, but not.
Alex, would you do it?
No, I would not do that. Now, the scenario that JR painted us yesterday, would you trade your 3 first-round picks now, 11, 15, and let's say 31 for Brady? I would do that in a heartbeat. But I'm not trading number 1 for Brady.
Kerbs, would you?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would.
I would do both.
I don't think hockey would, but I would just because, look, if you're going to be picking 11th, right, and let's take a Dalibor Dvorsky here, as a case, let's say it's that kind of player, if that's what it took, I know exactly what I'm getting with a 27-year-old player that's that kind of player that, that really changes, to me, the personality of this organization. You've got prospects, you've got others, you've got second-round picks, you've got things. I sure as heck would be considering something along those lines.
You want to hear how stupid I am? If you won the lottery with both of the picks, you won your lottery pick, you get the number 1 selection, and you won the lottery with the Red Wings pick, and you got the number 5 selection, and they called you and said, we'll trade Brady Tkachuk for the number 1 and number 5 pick, I would still say yes.
Yikes. My daughter doesn't like me saying the word stupid, but that's
stupid. Wait. Are you being facetious or you
No,
being serious?
he's being serious, Kerbs.
Kerbs, I have no idea what the number 1 and number 5 overall selections are going to be. The odds are against both of them being NHL, plus level players, much less superstars. I am locking myself into borderline superstar level play for the next 5 to 7 years with Brady Tkachuk, with assets that I didn't expect that I would have anyways.
How do they usually say it?
I'm going to listen. The odds. What you're saying, the odds of those players, the odds are more that you're going to get a good, I don't know if it's at Celebrini at this level, but no, those odds are much better at 1 or 5. Would I trade one of the 2? Sure, I'd consider that if I had them. But I love these pie-in-the-sky dreams. But here's another, real quick, guys. I know we're probably going a little longer here, but real quick for you. Put this in your bonnet, okay? since the salary cap came in.
The bonnet.
Yeah, put this in your bonnet.
It's a hat.
Like a bee in your bonnet.
I'm familiar with the bonnet.
You just look like you don't look like a bonnet guy.
Earlier today I said bump on a log, and now we're talking about bonnets. All right, go ahead, Curbs.
Okay, well, I will put this in your bucket hat. All right, so the since the salary cap came in, and I've done some research on this, confirmed it with NHL stats, just I complete through my own thought process on stuff. Right, there has only been one trade of a team trading into the top 5 since the salary cap came in, and that was in 2008 when the Toronto Maple Leafs traded in to get Luke Schenn, right? Now I'm talking trades that have happened since the end of the regular season, right? So you're set right now, you look at where you're drafting and you trade up. In the salary cap era, it's only happened one time, and that was in 2008. So the history of that scenario is not a good one. Trading out of picks, as Doug Armstrong said, you've got to have somebody who wants to trade out of those. Now, if you draft like the New York Rangers do, I trade it, okay? But if you're like, you don't see trades happen very often, so I'm curious if we see an anomaly this year.
Curbs, appreciate the time as always, man. Thanks for hopping on with us today and calling me stupid.
It was stupid.
Did I say that?
No, you said his point. No, you didn't call him stupid. You said your point was stupid, and I agree with that.
I didn't even use the word stupid.
No, you did.
I did. It's okay. I was the one that said it, not you.
Okay. Yeah, you did say that. That's true. I just asked if you were being serious.
Yeah, and it was a fair follow-up. By the way, the following players were selected number 5 overall since 2008. Luke Schenn, Nino Niederreiter, Ryan Strome, Morgan Riley, Elias Lindholm, Noah Hannafin, Barrett Hayton, Alex Turcotte, Jake Sanderson, Kent Johnson.
Nobody's arguing about the 5th overall pick. Your scenario was I'm trading the 1st and the 5th overall pick.
Correct. I'll trade all of those guys plus the number 1 overall pick.
Now read all the former number 1 overall picks.
Yeah, most of these guys were generational talents, and I don't know that you have one of those this year. But
Gavin McInnes compared to Patrick Kane. You don't want Patrick Kane on your team?
Stamkos, disappointment. John Tavares, disappointment. Taylor Hall.
Keep going. Neil Yakupov was the first one I'll listen to.
Aaron Ekblad, Connor McDavid, what's he ever done? Austin Matthews never won anything. Nico Hischier, get him out of town. Rasmus Dahlin. I mean, come on.
Hey, listen, BK, here's where you have a point. Here's where you have a good point.
Come on, Curbs.
and at some point in time, if you're trading for a known commodity, there could be some real value in that. And that's why I even made the comment where I don't see all these young players sticking with the Blues. So you're not philosophically, you're not off. I just don't think it'll happen.
No, it won't happen. It won't happen. No chance. But, if you're giving up the number 1, you might as well give up the number 5 because whatever. Curbs, appreciate the time, man. Take it easy.
All right, guys. Talk to you a little later.
It's Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, joining us here on 101 ESPN. Hell, give up 31, too.
Sure. I
really don't care about.
I don't care about 5 and 31. The
in
one
all
is the
seriousness, one. Alex, these are the number 5 picks. Like Brady Martin, Dimidov, he's really good.
Brady Martin might be good, too, by the way. We haven't seen Brady Martin yet.
Yeah, but I don't know. Reinbacher.
Sounds like a hockey player.
Gautier?
Gautier, yeah. Dude has just scored 40-something goals in his first full season.
Kent Johnson. He's an accountant.
I want the Blues to trade for Kent Johnson.
Alex Turcotte.
Oh, you're not wrong. 5th overall picks. I'm fine trading that.
It's like a 50-50 proposition on them being good, and there's almost nobody in here that's a superstar.
Send that one to the moon. I don't care about the 5th overall pick. The 1st is where I've got the problem.
And that's the question is, like, how much do you believe there is superstar potential in this year's draft? Because if you think you've got a superstar here, you don't trade it. But it seems like everybody agrees, they're really good players. I think the upside is capped. That's what the general vibe I'm getting is on this draft, is that the superstar potential might be limited, just really good players. And, like, if you're getting Nico Hischier with the number 1 overall pick, I'll trade that for Brady Tkachuk.
I'm with you there. But I think the superstar looks at like a Macklin Celebrini and is like, oh, my God. They're not generational players. I still think these guys have the potential to be superstar players. It's just not I'm taking that guy before anybody else in the National
also a
Hockey
chance,
League.
though, that you get Alexei Lafreniere or Nail Yakupov or Taylor Hall.
There's no
or
chance you get Nail
Ryan
Yakupov.
Nugent-Hopkins or Eric Johnson or Rick Nash. Like,
Rick Nash was awesome.
yeah.
Don't put Rick Nash into that conversation. I know you don't know much about the Blue Jackets, but don't put Rick Nash in there.
I was on a roll. All right, let me
Jesus. Or Zach Werenski. That guy's done nothing.
He's really good.
Yeah.
You should look into him.
If you're telling me I have a shot at Gavin
I guess-
McKenna or Ivar Stenberg, I'm taking that shot because you're right, and we don't know what they become. But typically, first overall picks have a lot of success, and I want to put that talent with the talent that I've already put together and still maybe try and make my shot at getting a different type of player. But I'm not going to do that with the first overall pick.
The bigger thing to me with this, and the reason why you don't do this, is not smart business, honestly, long term. It's the contract. Because these guys that we're talking about, you have contractual control over them for like 5 years.
Right.
And it's for relatively cheap compared to what you're expecting the production to be. So, like, the truth is, it's this player plus $7 million in cap space or $8 million in cap space compared to Brady Tkachuk. And so that's a big part of the conversation is what could I then do with that cap space along with this number 1 overall selection? And is that more valuable than going and getting Brady Tkachuk? The answer is probably yes, that's more valuable, but it requires you to really believe in the player that you've got at number 1, because I've already got a bird in hand with Brady Tkachuk, who's a stud hockey player and is already one of the good friends of Robert Thomas. We've gone too long. Juncture coming up next. I got to ask you guys about the new NBA lottery. Have you guys seen this?
I saw it in the notes. I didn't click on the link, so I thought we were going to talk NBA lottery at some point, so I didn't see anything about it, though.
I saw kind of the news around it. Something about relegation, too.
I like to be surprised on these.
So, Alex, there is a new lottery reform which is going to be implemented into the NBA because they've got a tanking problem. Teams in the NBA are in a race to the bottom to try to get as many assets as possible. In the NBA, if you get the number 1 overall selection, you're going to get a damn good basketball player. And there's a chance they become Anthony Edwards or LeBron James or Wemby. Like, you could have the guy that completely alters your franchise to where 5 years from now, you become the best team in the NBA.
And you trade that pick, though.
Of course. So previously, if you had the number 1, number 2, or number 3, the worst record in the NBA, so the best odds at getting the number 1 overall pick, you had a 14% chance to get that number 1 overall selection, right? Based on the lottery odds. Now, if you have the worst, second worst, or third worst record in the NBA, you have a 5% chance to get the number 1 overall selection. Meanwhile, if you are 4th to 10th, you have an 8% chance to get the number 1 overall selection. You heard that correct. You have a worse chance at the number 1 overall pick if you are one of the 3 worst teams in the league than you do if you're somewhere in the 4 to 10 range. In fact, if you're in the 11 to 14 range, which are 10 seeds and 9 seeds in the NBA playoffs, you have the same odds to get the number 1 overall selection as if you were one of the 3 worst teams in the league that year. I will give you my thoughts on this momentarily. I'm curious now that you know what the odds look like. And Alex, this is how it looks in graphic form for you. I know listeners can't see this, but it is literally like the top and the bottom are the worst, and then the middle is where the best odds are for every team. They're flat at 8%. Do you think this is a good idea for the NBA?
I'm trying to find the flaws in this. And I'm only saying that because I think it works to not have the worst teams in the NBA to have the best odds to get the draft picks or to get the first overall pick. But I feel like there's TNT somewhere in this that I'm missing. So I kind of need to hear your perspective. I'll tell you what I don't like in terms of the anti-tanking that people talk about. Having a tournament to win the first overall pick of all of the bad teams.
Yeah, I think that's stupid.
I think I think that would piss me off as a fan more to watch my team be awful for an entire year and then play their best inspired game, whatever the sport is, to get the first overall pick.
Yeah, I don't know that I like this because I fear that you're ending up getting teams just stuck in purgatory. Like, if you are a really bad team, you do need something to just kind of rejuvenate your organization, right? The Spurs needed Victor Wembanyama in a really bad way. And now I think there's a fair amount that the Pacers, who are a team that's lottery bound this year, don't necessarily need that pick because they have their superstar. He just blew out his freaking Achilles last year in Halliburton. But there are organizations that need these picks in a desperate way that I fear you're just going to bury them at the bottom for a very long time.
You know what's really hard? Getting a superstar to play in Cleveland or Orlando or Memphis or San Antonio or Oklahoma City. And now the one place that those teams could go for that kind of talent is the top of the draft. And the place to do it, unfortunately for the NBA, is to tank. And that's now been taken away from them as well. So how, if I'm one of those teams in the smaller
the dynamite
markets,
I didn't think of it.
How am I, if I'm in one of these smaller markets, how do I compete?
It's becoming baseball.
I'm not getting, guys are asking out of their market. New Orleans, right? Who's the star that stayed? Who's the star that stays in Milwaukee for their entire career? You could tell me Giannis, man. Well, okay, we'll see. Minnesota, they always these markets now have no way of getting that player other than if they are to win the lottery, which now you have the same odds as like the Golden State Warriors or the Lakers if they miss the playoffs.
But those teams are always there because the players don't want to stay. And that's the frustrating part, is like they just consistently find themselves in the bottom 3.
No, there's no loyalty from the NBA players. Like, nobody really sticks around in an organization that long.
Sure, but some of them do with big markets. Like, if they're going to stay somewhere, it's New York, it's LA, it's San Francisco with Golden State. Like, those are the markets where you would typically see these guys stay. And now you have no advantage as a smaller market team. I can't be smarter, quote unquote, by getting to the top of the draft standings, because now there's no way to know where you're going to be. It's a true lottery. Like, this is like going over to the gas station and picking up 5 lottery tickets, and you've got the same odds as anybody else that has a lottery ticket. That's what the NBA draft lottery has now become. There are unintended consequences to this, just as there are to what the old format was going to be. I do not like it. I do not like it at all. I don't know what the answer is.
I think the answer would have been doing what like Major League Baseball did, which is after whatever it is, 1 year, 2 years, you cannot be back-to-back top 5.
That's also part of this.
You see, that's what I would say you need to do for that. Is rather than just screwing the bottom 3 teams, it is, okay, you can be bottom 3 and have the highest percentage odds. You only get that for a year. You don't get that back-to-back years.
That's what the NHL put into place. And what you can't pick first overall 3 years in a row or in 3 years multiple times. So I don't know. People say the NHL do a good job with it. I mean, sure, but I mean, look at what Vancouver and Calgary did this year. Like, they went into tank mode. So I don't know how you fix tanking. Tanking's a problem no matter the sport, because teams want that pick, and if they know they're bad, they're going to trade all their assets to be bad. It's just a matter of how long they're in that tanking mode.
I also think you might now have more teams that tank in the NBA. This is something else that I think needs to be considered is, all right, so previously we could only really get the best odds if we were one of those 3 worst teams. Now you're telling me as long as I'm one of the 10 worst teams in the league, I have the same odds basically to get the number 1 overall selection. All right, so now 15 teams across the league are going to be trying to get out of the top 7 in their respective conferences to get back down toward the better odds. I just think you're going to have more of the league that's not trying. And that ends up being a pretty terrible consequence of this as well. All right, coming up next, I heard Michael McGreevy say something earlier today on TMA, and I heard Ollie Marmol say something the other day on the Gas House Gang as it relates to the crowds at Busch Stadium over the weekend. Alex, I want to get your thoughts on this. T-Bone, same thing for you. Coming up next, you're on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Oliver Marmol said something yesterday that caught my attention, Alex.
I don't like that you called him Oliver.
I apologize.
Maybe a little uncomfortable.
Nope, that's my bad.
What's his
Ollie
middle name?
Marmol said something yesterday. I'll look that up. That caught my attention. And Michael McGreevy said something similar earlier today on TMA. I want to play these cuts for you because I want to get your thoughts. Let's start with McGreevy, who was on with TMA earlier today, as he is basically every day.
It was awesome to see. I walk outside for that Friday game, Friday night, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, was there like a promotion? I think there was a Grateful Dead cover band.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Concert before the game. But I mean, it was packed, and we're like, wow, a great crowd. Absolutely great crowd for a Friday night. And then Saturday like day game, we're like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like, we'll see how it turns out. And then both Saturday and Sunday, just great turnouts. And I feel terrible that I was talking to the media after my game. It's just baseball is baseball. We could have won it all of those games. We ended up losing all those games. It was the same thing with certain games this year. It's like, hey, like, we could have lost that game. We could have won that game. It's just baseball kind of bites in the ass sometimes that, hey, it just didn't get done. But they're all close. They're all competitive. And that's a good team that teams might see in the playoffs, and the Mariners. And we were super close with them, and just kind of sucks that we weren't able to deliver for the fan base despite their great showing. And I mean, hopefully for the Dodgers this weekend, we get the same thing.
That's why you like him so much. He uses foul language.
Yeah, for sure. It is something with me. I like that.
Is that why you like me so much?
I do. I like it. Like, I saw Ollie the other day said a bad word in his press availability. I was like, yeah, get him. I don't know what it is.
Man.
It's something
people
about
don't like
weirdo.
cussing. I just think it's fun. I'd use F words every other word when I'm not on the radio.
Cardinals
Sometimes you do it on
attendance over
radio.
the weekend against the Mariners. I told you guys Friday night, that Grateful Dead thing, that was real. There was a huge crowd on hand for that.
They should make every home game Grateful Dead
I
night.
also love, by the way, Michael's first reaction was, there's got to be a promo, right?
Yeah.
So it was 31,000 on Friday night, 27,000 in that weird day game on Saturday, as he mentioned, and then 31,000 again on Sunday, all against the Seattle Mariners.
And those are the kids' days, which those Sunday ones I'd expect to continue to be a popular one.
Here's Ollie, or Oliver Marmol,
Jose, by the way,
on KMOX yesterday talking about the crowd.
You can't just ask fans to come back to the stadium. You earn that. And when you look at Friday, you look at Saturday, and you look at Sunday, Busch felt different. It was a pretty cool environment, and people showed up, and you're sitting there on Saturday, your offense is doing what they're doing. They're hitting homers all over the place. The crowd is excited. And I felt like it was an opportunity to just reward that, man, and not let a starter just continue to wear it. You take your shot and you empty out your bullpen, and you use JoJo and you use Riley, and you try to win that game and give the people that paid money to be there something to get excited about again. And if I'm being honest, if we're in Pittsburgh or Cincinnati on the road and that's happening to Libby, no, I'm being completely honest with you. I might let it ride a little bit longer. But because we're talking about what we're talking about, people showed up, and they're showing up again. And it's been fun to see. Like, give them something to get excited about. So we empty out, we take our shot, and it doesn't work. But I'll tell you right now, like, I don't care that we have 7. Like, I would do it all over again. I think we took the appropriate shot. They got to our best 2 guys in JoJo and Riley, and you move on. But I felt like the opportunity, that's what it called for, and I'm glad we did it.
Okay. I've got a lot of thoughts.
oh, jeez.
Let's start here. T-Bone, what did you think of that?
I'm surprised you're going to me first, because I can
saw-
tell that
we
we
saw
wanted
your
this to
face.
be a exciting, fun, boy, isn't it great we're back
We saw your
conversation.
face.
I don't know that I like the manager making a bullpen decision on if the crowd's really feeling it or not in that day.
Why? It's a rebuild.
Even then, I still don't like it.
What do I care?
Because the manager should be making the decision based on what's best for the ball club, not what's best for the people in the
or
stands.
What if what's best for the ball club is what's
fans.
best for the fans in the stands?
And it absolutely isn't a rebuild, because I remember from 2006 to 2008 for Blues fans, and it was miserable. Rebuilds, the most important thing are fans coming to games. It provides more finances for the teams to eventually spend, and it provides a little bit more of a dangling fruit of saying, like, hey, you want more people here, you got to perform this way. I think it's
I
a smart
love
move.
it.
Yeah, I don't know if I like it when it comes to the starting pitcher of like, yeah, let's go let him get blown up in Pittsburgh. And, I think you should handle it with a starting pitcher the same all season long.
Disagree.
Because that's the guy that you're trying to develop into something. If that would have been Andre Palante, I'd be probably cheering about it.
No, what he's saying is like, because it was at home, we're taking our shot. We're going to get aggressive with our bullpen. If it was on the road, you probably let the pitcher wear it a little bit more because you don't.
Libby probably heard that when it was.
Yeah, I was saying, if it wasn't Libby, I'd be like, yeah, all aboard that. Libby, it's supposed to be the star of the guy.
I said this yesterday. Like, if you wanted to do that decision of we're going to empty the tank on Saturday, Saturday, I'm fine with that because I thought the process was, hey, McGreevy's going tomorrow. We know he's going 6 innings probably. We feel confident we're going to get innings. Now, boy, we are having fun today. Let's really empty out the bullpen. Oh, I don't like that at all.
Do you believe him?
Ollie?
I don't believe him one bit.
I think it's a really good thing to say.
I think it's a PR. I definitely think it's a PR thing. I don't believe half the things I hear from these press conferences and interviews.
Well, that's the jaded part of this business. Every time I sit in a press conference, I'm like, I don't buy any of that.
I've heard Kaskamaki's name brought up as an NHL.
Do you know how many times?
I don't believe that at all.
Do you know how many times I've heard him come back from winter warm-up and be like, oh, man,
my God, I know. Scott was so breaking out this year.
They're working on a spin for a certain pitch with one of these pitchers, and I am excited.
Yeah, I'm the one who does that on this show.
For sure. Winter warm-up. Are you kidding me?
It's definitely me.
Every time you guys come back, it's like, Dusty Blake was talking about
it's not
so-and-so. Hey, Brant Brown
into
told
that
me.
Kaskamaki camp, by the way.
Brant Brown has told me that this guy is going to come through.
I don't have yours. T-Bone's the one that does this.
You do it in spring training.
The change-up's going to be the thing that changes everything.
No, I didn't say that at all.
The gingerbread from Shrek.
Because that's T-Bone's voice.
Come draw buttons.
Hold on. I will admit I fell for the Walker hype 2 years ago. I said nothing about that changeup. All I said was it's interesting they all mentioned it, and then I looked it up and I said they sucked against lefties last year, which they still suck against lefties.
Look, all three of us.
So that's why they all were working on a changeup.
All three of us are guilty of it. Let's just call a spade a spade.
I would never.
Oh my God. All three of us are guilty.
I remember going to that and being like, you know what? Actually, Alex is right. Dakota Hudson's back.
I was so excited when they said it at that press conference.
Dakota Hudson said Dusty Blake has changed the way that he views baseball, and that makes me feel as though I've changed the way I feel about Dakota Hudson. that was a true takeaway from me on winter warm-up. In other words, don't. No. Anyways, back to the
Where is Dakota
conversation
now?
at hand. I don't know.
Probably not in baseball. Over in Korea, maybe?
Yeah, he's not pitching anywhere.
Makes sense.
Do you think that this team has the ability to win Cardinals fans back over? Because 30,000 is a good number. It's not what it was a few years ago for the Cardinals for a weekend series against a quality team like Seattle, right? This weekend, I bet you get a really nice crowd. You've got the Dodgers coming to town. Cardinals, at least for the first 2 games of this series, have played well against Pittsburgh. It's been a fun ride so far. Like that should draw pretty well. And then you've got, in a couple of weeks, the Kansas City Royals come to town. That typically is a pretty good draw as well because of the I-70 series thing. So I don't think, and then after that, it's the Cubs on a weekend. Like, I think you're going to have some pretty good crowds on the weekend games here for a while. And that was the case last year, too. You'd get to these weekend series, and it's like, all right, it's still 30,000. Eventually got to August, and
got hot outside.
That's what I was.
It was less great.
When it gets hot in St. Louis, it's very difficult to get people to want to go sit out in that heat all day.
And to watch a bad team.
And I don't know. I mean, can they win them over? Yes, because I think this team has a lot of personality. They've got exciting players. And if the offense is going to do this all season, Cardinals fans will want to go see that. But I do think you'll hit a point, whether it's June, July, you're going to hit a point where fatigue may set in for the team. You're also going to hit a point where it becomes 115 degrees outside, and nobody wants to go sit in that all night long and pay the money for it. So that's where I feel like you'll hit a dip. This won't sustain all season, but early on, I do think it will be there.
You know what's a Jedi MP67 on the YouTube chat said this. I was at
What? Who said that?
Jedi MP67. 67. Got him.
I feel like we're done with that now, right?
No.
I mean, it ended a month ago.
We
but
were
he's a
done
dad.
with it when I started it. I keep doing it.
We'll be doing it into his 60s.
He said when I'm 67.
Yeah. And he'll stop.
6'7".
Oh, my God. said, I was at a game last year with an announced attendance of 30,000 plus, and the place was half empty. Friday was a real show up 30,000 plus. It was awesome. That's a great point. The announced attendance can say something, but man, we know how this works, especially for the Cardinals. They have such a huge season, or had such a huge season ticket holder base. I apologize, but let's be real. That it would be hard for them to drop below like 20,000+ for any individual game. Like Miami announced 7,500 for the game against the Cardinals. That would never happen here because of the season ticket holders, where even if they don't go, it's already sold. That's what the numbers are.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like on Friday, is like, okay, there's 31,000 announced. I bet you it was 30 that were actually there. And that is what felt different over the weekend, is you actually had the number of tickets sold reflecting how many butts were in the stands. That's what I'm really asking about here is, will we see a scenario where people keep showing up? Like they are still engaging with this team in a way that they didn't last year or that they didn't 2 years ago. Do you think that's possible? Is it just going to require them to keep playing the way that they have? Is there something more to it?
I think it's going to require...
What do you think needs to happen?
It's going to require them to continue to win. It's going to require them to continue to be towards the top of the NL Central and make people believe that they're a playoff team. That will, because they have an exciting group of younger players, will at least get people to say, hey, you want to go to the Cardinals game? My cousin did this to me. It's why I'm going on Friday. He called me on Sunday, and he's like, hey, let's go to the Cardinals game on Friday. And he's like, Dodgers are coming into town. The Cardinals are playing well. Your girls will get a kick out of it. So we're going. I think the winning has a massive part of it. Right now, there's winning. It's really nice weather, and it's always early in baseball season. I haven't been to a Cardinals game yet. I got to get there. As the summer continues to build, that's where I feel like the interest starts to dip. But it is tied to the team. If they go through a 10-game losing streak, or if they play 10 games under 500 for 2 months, I think that's going to be like, well, I don't want to go out and sit in 110-degree weather if this team's not winning.
As long as they continue to exceed expectations, they will continue to draw the 30,000 where it'll feel like 30,000. And what I mean by that is if they were 9-19, that Seattle game was not going to feel that way. It probably would have been announced 30,000. I wouldn't doubt 30,000 showed up, but I bet 10,000 came for the giveaway and then left. Because we see that at times in St. Louis. You see that in any ballpark, honestly. I think it's the matter of exceeding expectations. I don't know if it's necessarily staying above 500, right? I think if they're kind of around that mark, they're 4 or 5 games below 500, that would be exceeding some people's expectations. But the reason I wouldn't bank on that today is I don't think they're going to sustain this, right? They don't have pitching, and that'll be their big problem is they're not going to continue to be able to win games by having their offense outslug all their problems. So once that starts to kind of hit, reality starts to set back in, I think you start to see this really dip off by the end of June and then the rest of the year.
What if they dip off as a team, but J.J. Weatherholt actually improves from here? We've seen the worst of J.J. Weatherholt, and what we've seen from Jordan Walker is real. So the team, because of the pitching, it drops off. They fall like 5 games below 500, but they've got 2 guys that look like one maybe a superstar and another a star.
I would still bet that it doesn't. I would bet it still drops off.
Yeah, I don't think that's enough.
Because I think it's about winning.
Yeah, I don't think that's enough to pull you back in.
I think it's about winning and having a superstar.
I don't think those guys are the draw to the ballpark kind of players. And that's not to degrade them. It's just, I think what makes you come to the ballpark are guys that hit bombs and you just don't expect it out of them.
I think they're not there yet. I think they could get there, but what it requires is, I think it is a 2-part thing. And we said this at the time because they didn't draw particularly well when they were kind of winning in 24 and 25. It requires winning at a actual level of, hey, we're a playoff team. On top of, we're doing that while we also have a guy that you want to come see that is not just a face of your franchise, but a face of the league. Like that was Albert, right? Albert was that from the time he got to the big leagues all the way till he left in 2011. I think you're talking about that level of star. And that's why I say, even if Weatherholt and Walker continue to do this, they're not there yet. And I think they can get there, but in year 1, I don't think they will be enough to kind of overcome the lack of winning from the Cardinals as an organization.
I think that's probably fair. I think they're playing an entertaining brand right now, though, and if you have 2 guys that are young, energetic, I think both of them have pretty good personalities, and you can feel it when they're playing. It's a pretty good starter pack to be a team that this city starts to get behind. You add in a little bit in the offseason, and maybe by this time next year, we're talking about a team that this city is really behind if they're playing baseball. Coming up next, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. You give us two scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely in a more likely to happen game next year on 101 ESPN.
Only a couple more days in the month of April, which means only a couple more days for you to take advantage of Classic Air Care's $79 AC tune-up that they're offering with springtime here. They know how important it is to get that air conditioner checked to make sure everything's good to go. That's why you want to jump on that tune-up opportunity. And Classic Air Care has been a company making people comfortable since 1926. It comes down to the quality of service and trust that you have every single time that you use them. It's something that I have only used since 2016 when I purchased my first home. It's always been Classic Air Care because of that service that they provide and the trust that I have when they come out to my home. When we had to purchase a new HVAC system, I had them come out to be honest with me and explain to me if we needed to get one or if we were able to keep pushing our way through. That's what is best about them. You get incredible customer service as well. They've got 100 orange vans with the penguins on the side of the road out, and you get, or they'll get back to you within 24 hours and provide that 5-star service. So you can call them today. You could schedule online, check out their maintenance agreement, all of it for you over on their website at Classic Air Care and classicaircare.com.
Tanner Hendrickson here with a Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals took down the Pirates yesterday as they've taken 2 of the first 4 games in their 4-game set in Pittsburgh. Game 3 is tonight. Andre Plante gets to start for St. Louis. 5:40 will be first pitch. The Sports Center update is brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line. For more likely to happen, you give us 2 scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely. Let's start out with this one. More likely to be starting in the Cardinals outfield on August 1st, Alex. Nathan Church or Joshua Baez?
That's a good one.
Thanks, guys.
It's rare that we get these.
Especially for me.
I'll say more likely that it's Nathan Church. I don't think they'll rush a Joshua Baez up to the big leagues unless he is just completely looking like he's too good for Memphis. So I'll say more likely that it's Nathan Church.
I'll say more likely Nathan Church as well, and it is because I feel like Baez's spot is determined on if Nootbaar comes back and if Nootbaar gets traded. Because otherwise, if you don't move on from Nootbaar and he is still here, Nootbaar's your left fielder. And then I don't think they would want to move him to center field along with Baez, even though he's been playing down there. Sounds like he's not great defensively in center field. So I think you then go Church in center, and you've got Walker in right. So you don't have a spot for Baez. You just let him continue to grow in the minors. So I'd say Church.
I think it's Church as well because he could play center. And that's the potential out for him is he could play left, he could play center. Those are 2 spots. Baez, I think, is exclusively going to be playing left at the big league level. I think you could see him come up later in the season. Maybe it's that late September call-up, kind of similar to what they did with Mason Wynn a few years ago, where you don't burn that year as well. That's another situation to keep an eye on is maybe they think Joshua Baez is going to be a really good player for them, and they want to have as much club control as possible, so don't waste it in a year that you're probably not going to win anything of meaning in. Alex, what do you got for us?
Guys, more likely to happen. The Blues make a trade this offseason for Mason McTavish from the Anaheim Ducks. Go ahead and Google him, T-Bone, if you need to see who he is.
Thank you.
Or Matvei Michkov from the Philadelphia Flyers.
Michkov, I think, is more likely. I don't know why Anaheim would make that deal.
So McTavish has fallen out of grace with that team. He basically was designated to like a 3rd or a 4th line player for them. He was frustrated. Remember last year, he was frustrated because he wanted to get a contract extension. They gave him one. Now he's frustrated with his playing time. I actually think it's likely this guy gets moved, but I also think it's likely Michkov gets moved because that guy was scratched from the last game. So the question I guess I'm asking is, would you rather or more likely that they're going to go after the centerman who's locked up for, I think, the next 6 years at $7 million, or a guy who's still on an entry-level contract who is a scoring winger, but not a good defensive player, Matvei Michkov?
I would say Michkov for me. One, because the scratch, which leads to feels definitely more like it's harder to come back from compared to like just even losing minutes. You can come back from that if you're a player. The other thing, too, is it's the entry-level deal, like you said, so I'm not locked into a couple of years. So if I do make the trade and it goes poorly, I can just wipe my hands clear in a couple of years if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, let me double-check that just to make sure. Matvei Michkov, yeah, he's an entry-level, so next year will be his last year, and then it'll be an RFA after that. I'm on Michkov as well. If I were to say that Philadelphia would go a Kyrou for Michkov trade, would you pull that off?
Yeah.
I would.
Because,
and I'm more on the side of you just got to make change for change's sake, so yeah.
And the reason I'm hesitant on McTavish, because I think everybody wants McTavish, is, man, this guy fell out of grace for Joel Quenneville. Joel Quenneville's a winning head coach. Whether you like him or not, he's a winning head coach. And he said, this guy's not good enough to play in my top 6. So Michkov would be mine.
Guys, in this series with the Pirates, we were seeing 2 of the top prospects in baseball when it came into the year, and J.J. Weatherholt and Connor Griffin. More likely to have more All-Star appearances in their career, J.J. Weatherholt or Connor Griffin?
Griffin's got a longer runway, so I'll say Griffin.
Yeah, I think I'd go
he's
Connor
young.
Griffin
He's
as well.
19 years old. Like, imagine how good Connor Griffin is going to be in 4 years, because that's when he will be the same age as J.J. Weatherholt is today.
Does he...
The position, though, is an important factor here, because J.J. Weatherholt's playing second. I'm guessing that's kind of your...
Does he have Does he have difference-making power?
Oh, yeah.
Griffin?
That home run he hit you last night.
Yeah.
right
I
center.
just didn't know, like, prospect perspective, if they viewed him as that.
I mean,
so.
he looks built for a 19-year-old. I can't imagine what he's going to be like, to your point, when
he gets that man strength.
But
he's 225 pounds. He just turned 20.
Yeah. The reason I would lean Weatherholt here is because of the position. Shortstop's just a stacked position, so making all-star games at that spot is going to be hard. He will have to be the guy that the Pirates think he's going to be. J.J. Weatherholt, second base, just look across the league. There's not many good second basemen. There's a chance he could be an all-star this year. Think of that for a moment.
Yeah. There's at least an opportunity there. He's good defensively as well, so that's going to help him. Some of those, like, some people just look at it and they're like, all right, wins above replacement. Who's at the top of the leaderboard? He'll be pretty high because he's a well-rounded player. Yep. Adds value on the bases, adds values defensively. I get it. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line. For more likely to happen, you guys give us two scenarios. We'll tell you which one is more likely. More likely from Dirk Diggler's unit. The Cardinals have one All-Star or multiple All-Star representatives this year? Say multiple. You could have Riley O'Brien back end of your pen. Walker will make a case for it. He got off to such a hot start that people will have that name in the back of their mind that if he's still got good numbers by the All-Star break, Weatherholt's a good nominee there for you, T-Bone. Maybe you could see something like Burleson, Herrera could get into the mix. I don't know what he's going to be listed at, but if he's a catcher, that could be really interesting depending on his numbers at that point. So I'll say multiple.
I think I would say multiple as well because, I mean, you just named off all those people. Now, what makes it interesting is, will multiple people still be voted in from, like, the Mets and Phillies, even though they're off to bad starts?
Probably.
Because they still have the name recognition.
Name recognition.
Because that's what you almost need to happen is the Mets and Phillies don't send as many representatives as we thought before the year.
That's why I think I would go only one, because I think name recognition is what's going to hurt the Cardinals. They'll get one, but then I think the other ones will be replacements if they get them.
Do a couple more of these from the 314. More likely the Cardinals end with 85 or 75 wins this season. Okay, I would say more likely it's 75.
Yeah, I would too. I think you regress at some point. Yeah. It's a long season.
You don't have the pitching to be an 85-win team.
You're just wrapping up the first month of the season. Everyone's feeling good at this point.
More likely, the Blues trade Robert Thomas away or they trade for Tkachuk or Jason Robertson. It's more likely they would trade for one of those other guys. I just don't think they're trading away Robert Thomas.
I think it's more likely they trade away Thomas. I just don't see a scenario where they can trade for Tkachuk or Jason Robertson right now. If you were to say 2 years from now, then I'd have a different tune. But if you're talking this offseason, if they're still looking at this 3-year idea and not sure if this is good, then they might look at it still.
Yeah, I would say Thomas as well. If they're going to go 3 years, like you're at that point, Thomas is getting ready to go
29.
Be a free agent, 29 years old. You're not getting as much of his prime. I would say, yeah, it's Thomas.
He's T-Bone. That's Alex. I'm BK. It's 1:46. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. We'll get to the rewind next here on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page. 101ESPN.com and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
The 101 ESPN app is free to download. It's super easy to use. It is sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. By the way, you can check us out on YouTube, as always, at youtube.com/101ESPN STL. And when you go over there, you'll see a fresh, brand spanking new edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast. Alex, it appears you guys have talked about Brady Tkachuk.
No, we nixed all of it. We said we're not speaking of Brady Tkachuk at all on this podcast, and then spent the entire first segment talking about Brady Tkachuk on the podcast. But we don't dive as much into, what the Blues would have to trade. More so, one, what we talked about today, would Ottawa even entertain this? And two, does it even make sense in the timeline for the Blues to go after him? So we do that. We have our inaugural award ceremony to give awards away for the season-ending Blues.
The Blues show up for that?
No, but they will. This is just the first one. We're going to build it up. And then a couple of other fun things along the way.
That is all available for you at youtube.com/101ESPN STL. That is also where you will find the latest edition, the newest edition of the Redbird Report, which we will be recording tomorrow after the Cardinals play against the Pittsburgh Pirates.
What can people expect on that?
For a moment, I thought BK was going to say we're going to record it today. I was like,
No, he's not in a collared shirt. I know when you're recording. This guy is in a collared button-down shirt.
Right.
You know when I'm recording, my hair's gelled.
That's right.
Otherwise, hats 5 days a week for your boy.
100%. All right, Cardinals in action tonight against the Pittsburgh Pirates. They'll be going up against a very talented young starting pitcher in Bubba Chandler. Now, the numbers, his name's truly Bubba.
That's amazing.
The numbers have not necessarily reflected how good he has been in terms of, the ERA is up in the high 4s, but he's got legit swing and miss stuff. You can hit some homers against him. He's allowed 4 in his last 3 starts. He also will give you some free passes. He doesn't have the greatest command just yet. So far this season, he has 16 walks in 24 innings. Ooh. So stay disciplined. Hit the long ball when you get the opportunity to do so. I think there's a real chance, Alex, tonight that the Cardinals can do some damage against him. And then it will come down to, all right, what version of Andre Palante are you going to get against this particular Pirates lineup?
Shooters shoot. Jordan Walker hits a home run tonight.
I like it.
That's what I'm going to go for.
I like it. I like the idea that they're going to tag Chandler here. They're going to get to the bullpen. I think they win this one. I think it's going to be 6-2.
I think we're seeing like an
shooter shoot. Righties this year have a .292 slugging percentage against him. I don't think it's going to be one of your right-handed hitters.
Yeah,
I am instead going to go with Nolan Gorman, who will hit another homer tonight, and maybe we are seeing the beginning of him carrying the offense for a week or two.
Here we go.
And then we'll have the conversation about is it happening?
No, we will not.
I'm saying Burley bomb.
T-Bone will buy
Burley's
into
a good
it.
one. Couple of doubles last night.
13-11 final score. We're going to see a lot of runs. A lot of walks, too.
Well, if they get to our bullpen early, yeah.
It's funny, man. I say all of the things that I've said so far this year about Kyle Leahy, and then I go look at Andre Palante's season. I'm like, oh, he's just Kyle Leahy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look third time through the order, you know who's just like Kyle Leahy? Matthew Liberatore.
Oh, yeah, but that one, oof, yeah.
We get like one guy, I'm like, yeah, he'll be a part of this moving forward. Can we have a quick moment
of honesty? Did anybody feel safe when it was, 11-3 last night?
Absolutely
with our
not.
bullpen? Oh, no, I did not.
Absolutely
When
not.
it was that wide of a gap, I did.
I didn't.
They got it to 11-7.
Yeah. When it gets to the bullpen, I'm never that satisfied
I
in
saw
the
Brule out
lead.
there, I went, oh my God.
Because let's be honest, the guys that are coming out of the pen when it's an 11-3 game realize it's going to be an 11-7 game.
That's a fair point.
And you just have to hope that your fire hose and Riley O'Brien will shut it down.
Well, most of the combinations like, we can turn it off. I was going, oh boy, we're going to need more offense.
I did turn it off, but I kept the live one on my phone. I'm like, just pay attention just in case.
Alex, we have one potential elimination game tonight in the NHL. It is the Flyers versus the Penguins. That's at 6:30 this evening. You'll be able to hear, by the way, Lightning versus Canadians tonight here on 101 ESPN.
Gonna be a good one.
The Fast Lane's off early. They've got pregame coverage for that one starting at 5:30. And it sounds like we've got the Thunderbirds games
Mike
here on the
Ryder.
station this weekend as well.
Ryder confirmed it with me. Friday night, we're carrying the first 3 games of the Thunderbirds. I think we're going to carry the whole
taking on
series.
the Boston Bruins?
No, the Providence Bruins. So that was a good. Well, no, you just put Bruins. That's okay.
How you feeling tonight, Alex? We've got Canadians versus Lightning, and then Penguins versus Flyers. That's the potential elimination game, and then Mammoth versus the Golden Knights.
The Flyers one, I think Penguins win, and it goes to 7 games. It's in Pittsburgh, and it's going to come back to Philly. I think Pittsburgh might pull off the impossible and win a series being down 3-0.
This one's in Philly.
This one's in Philly? No, I thought they just won in Philly.
I don't know, man, but it's in
Wasn't
Philly.
Pittsburgh I thought Pittsburgh was higher up on the Flyers.
You okay over there?
I could have sworn it was in Pittsburgh. Regardless, that one's going to 7. I think the same can be said for the Montreal and the Utah Mammoth one. Those series I'll be fascinated to see because both the Mammoth and the Canadians coughed up leads late and lost in the previous game.
That Mammoth one was rough.
Yeah, but Vegas goaltending has been terrible. So I think those are the 3 most entertaining series on top of the Dallas and Minnesota one in the playoffs right now.
All the series that remains,
I was
Alex
gonna say, wasn't
really
that
likes.
every series
He's out on the Oilers, Ducks, everything else.
Well, yeah.
He's out on the Colorado one. That's just because it's done.
And the Carolina one I was out on from the moment.
but all of the series that are still playing,
I never
you just
said
said are
Buffalo
really
and
good.
Boston's going to 7. That one's not going to 7.
That's just because you forgot. Let's be honest.
No, I knew exactly. There's 4 series that have been entertaining, and the other 4 have been crap.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Appreciate you all tuning in today. We'll try to do better tomorrow. The Fast Lane's next here on 101 ESPN.